Well, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Attempting to eradicate weeds from the garden vegetables.
Me too.
Well, I think we put electrodes on the chair now, too.
I see some
So
books out.
my dad's.
Right, so if they don't like what you do, they can push a button somewhere and or there's a hole in the floor and you go,
So our class was really well represented.
Find out.
Yeah.
First subject, we'll see what they think.
well, I'm experienced students, that's why. That's why they use lawyers in civil laboratory, that's it. You shouldn't get no reasons to ask the lawyers.
She didn't take anything out.
Did she know that?
The American had a mounted weasel.
He
Yeah.
always knows who dies for Cheryl.
That's a good place to do things. So is, when did it get closed until February? April, okay, because I told some people. April.
Did you ever see the
No, and that's why I want to read it a little closer.
I don't think I took it home, but
Anything on Mineral County page?
anything's possible.
Okay, I didn't know if you did.
It's not gonna come up there, but I'm looking for it.
Yeah, I posted it this week.
Yeah, anybody does, huh?
I probably saw it, but I didn't forget.
I do
Yeah,
online,
yeah.
a lot.
Yeah, that Mineral County page is really good.
Yeah, this was the.
Yeah, and I was at a meeting the other day, and the wildlife arts person was there, and I was asking about their property and their family spirit.
Way long ago.
I know. So people could take their ideas in and their animals.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, you guys did, I don't know.
You know,
Coffee's in the microwave.
you know, she found that letter I was talking about?
Yes, yes. Yes.
So I just gotta send it off to that fella? Or-
We did.
Oh, she did, okay.
Then 3 or 4 days later,
That reminds me too. I need to. Are you going back there to talk to her now? I'm going to get my coffee. It's
Oh,
in the
oh.
microwave.
muscular cat, yellow cat, short and white. And he comes back with wounds on the throat, so he's out fighting, I guess. And he's got a cauliflower ear. I think we
Some of the
can
data, I
find it
can't
like.
find it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
No problem. Yes,
Did you need me?
I'd like to find out.
I'll just,
So Emily
I can tell her
posted on
later, she can, eventually, I'll just try to get a copy of that letter, or letter.
Oh, sure.
That guy wanted me to call and I'll let her see
But
what.
didn't you immediately got a thing that said, thanks, Roman, he couldn't believe we did it because it was a holiday weekend.
Oh, it might have been on Energy Commission when I
Yeah,
checked that one.
yeah, he was so
I
impressed.
better go through and check.
I can see. It's so
This is what the recorder was.
Yeah.
I got one of those
Was it
little,
ultrasonic tops,
Look it up.
and you put your rings in there and your glasses in there, and when you're taking a shower, it takes 2 minutes to clean them, so
Yeah,
it's
they
hot
wanted
in
me
there,
to talk to
take a
her
shower, put it
before I
back
talk
out.
to her, reread my own
Because one of
letter.
my biggest things is these nose pieces
That's why I
get
would
like
call them
gross.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
The little electronic, you come up to like $19.
But, so
But
this
if you
is.
keep the nose pieces on your glasses, you're better than me, that's when I always break them off.
Well, mine get gross before they broke off, but yeah.
Oh, I break them off all the time.
Yeah, this little ultrasonic machine sure does work though.
what's the date, say?
And
Yeah.
the solution
So,
is.
do you have a new trailer on the floor too now?
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
You'll find it, you're gonna know where it
Water
is.
tank down there.
Is that what it is?
There's 3 hungry wolves beneath the floor.
At least it's not piranhas, that's just stuff. Or I was gonna say, do you have an ejector that goes right to the ceiling like this? Or something?
Well, you only hit the button for attorneys. You're not fine.
Not Wallet does it, but she does.
So, I'm experimental, right?
Yeah, you're kind of a farmer, but still an attorney, so.
Oh.
Are you ready, Mrs. Condon?
I'm ready whenever you are.
Okay. All right, well, we're here, the first agenda item is an update on our cooperator status with Wally Congdon.
Okay, this has been a good week and a half of sitting down and trying to figure out ways. I've had a number of people, Willie's come in and spent a lot of time trying to figure out the parts of the puzzle. Ken sat down with me and got some pieces of it and some history put together, and we finally found some of the history, which was good. So there's a letter in front of you that is a draft that I did. It's got my signature line on it if I want to sign it, but I think it's better if I don't sign it. But that's what I wanted to do. And if a copy hasn't floated through all of you, I have another copy for you. So the letter's written to the Forest Service, and what it basically says with the attachments, but the cover letter is the part that matters first. It says, "Hi, attaches a memo in the history regarding cooperator status in the process of preparing the Wallowa National Forest Plan. Would request that you would give us that as soon as possible so we can take a seat on the scoping team and go to work doing that." And then the attached memos are two things. There's a copy of the January 30th, 2002 memo from the federal government directing the Forest Service and other federal agencies under NEPA to have local government cooperatives wherever possible. So this is not a function that we're just begging. This is also a function of the federal law says they're required to do this whenever they can. So I gave you a copy of the memo with the other attachments which go with it, including the memorandum from Horace Greckmill, who was the head of the Council on Environmental Quality nationally, from February 4th, 2002, that says, by the way, here's what gives for local governments. And that memo is for state and local government entities. It's the last page of what you have there. So the reason I put those with it, besides the other memo agreement, Gloria's finishing retyping it, we took the one that we had for the Beaverhead Deer Lodge Forest 20 years ago, that we revised 6 years ago for the Columbia Basin Plan that Lake County did, and we just updated it to be current now, and so when that's done, it goes with it. But I think we're better to have the commissioner sign this letter rather than me, and I'm not being lazy. I just think you're the county. I'm the county's lawyer in part, but I'm not the county commissioners or the county director of forest, whatever you are. So I think that it's appropriate. That's what the letter looks like. We can change it however you want. But if it's good with you, then we'll change it and put it on commissioner letterhead, commissioner signatures. You guys can send it instead of me. I think is a better way to do it. That's just my thought. Sorry, I'm hoarse, but I think that this is the first time that Mineral County isn't going to just take the plan. What we get to do in the scoping process is we're in the process of making the plan draft. What the alternatives are, and how they work. If there's issues that we have left out in the past, we can suddenly ask those issues to be included in the Wallowa Forest Plan. So while this is unique to Mineral County, it's not in the sense of if there's things adjacent to us in Missoula or in Sanders County that are issues that affect us, we can ask those to be included too. So it's not just the county itself, it's the Wallowa Forest Plan that it affects. But that affects all the stuff that drives our bus locally, which is good.
Wally, could you just in a nutshell tell us what is that update, so that everyone knows what that update is?
The updated document is just an MOU that says, Dear Forest Service, here's a copy of the MOU between the county and the Forest Service, which says that we're a cooperator in terms of doing the Wallowa Plan. We have special expertise in terms of our community stability, in terms of our local government and our local people. So the way we get cooperator status is we have either what's called special expertise in the federal law, and special expertise is who the hell knows about the economy of Mineral County? The commissioners. Who knows about the custom, culture, and heritage of the county? The commissioners. So that is, quote, special expertise. We know far more about who's here and what we have than the Forest Service does. So we end up in the driver's seat about those issues and what matters with that, because we have, quote, the special expertise, and that's what the MOU basically says is that. And we will send our person to the team, and we understand it's FOIA exempt, and also, they also understand that the person we send, which is Willie, does not disclose the contents of the meetings, and neither can the members of the team. Because the federal government's policy is, in the event you have scoping for planning to avoid retribution against employees who really speak their mind, you need to have that not be a public discussion, which makes perfect sense to me under the federal FOIA law. But the reason a commissioner cannot go is the federal rule is doing this and the state rule is doing this. Because the state says everyone has the right to observe their government. So I told Beaverhead, Madison, Lincoln, all the other counties who've done this, including the Muscle Shell Planning Project, which was 7 counties, the commissioners cannot do this. Because you are elected, and there's a constitutional right in Montana to observe our government, and the public cannot go to a scoping meeting. So you can't actually go as the commissioners or a commissioner because the public can follow you, and the federal law says, no, that is not an open deal. So the two go like this, but the way around it we got 23 years ago is, wait a second, let's find a resource use person, we called them the resource use coordinator at Beaverhead County, and sent that person in lieu of the commissioners, which works perfectly. We just didn't count on, when I said I would do some of this stuff here, I didn't count on the fact that the Lola was going to redo its plan, and I didn't count on you had the funding from a grant that we got years ago to have Willie Peck step up and actually do it as a resource use person. So we just had all the things, the stars aligned perfectly at the same time, which is just weird, but they did. And Ken talked about redoing the plan years ago, and I think the intention 20 years ago was to do this. We just ended up behind the ball, didn't show up for the Lola plan, didn't know how to do the rest of it. Now that we found a copy of those things, and we have the people to do it, it's a perfect time to show up for the game. And a last note, we have not updated the information on the county in 20 years. So Deb had this idea from the thing she did in California, that they had a thing called the library searcher on their computer at the California office. And she said no, and I met Una because Dawn introduced me to her. So I called Una Wednesday and said, hi, can we come over? We have a little project if you guys don't mind doing it. She said, come and see me. So Deb and I went and saw Una, who runs the library, and said, look, we have a document, we have a list of the agencies that have this information. Will you guys, if you have some time in the next week, just call the agencies and get the answers. Call the Bureau of Economic Research at University of Montana. Give me the average age, the average job, the average income, the everything which is the character quote of our county. How many acres in this county are owned by the state? The NRC has that. How many million board feet of timber were cut 10 years ago, 5 years ago, this year in this county? The NRC has it. So I said, here's your list of agencies to call. Can you get this? And Una said, yeah, it's going to take us like a week. I said, fine, we don't need it today. But instead of us having to put the time into doing that, now they're doing it, and that'll help a lot. So that's a big step in the right direction.
On this one letter, Wally, there's no heading on it, and it just says from James Connaughton, Chair. So
Right, that was the chairman of the Federal Council on Environmental Quality. That was written to the agencies from the federal government. That one's dated January 30th of 2002.
yeah, I know. I was just referring to this. It doesn't really say who he is. Chair.
Yeah,
of what.
he was the head of the National Council on Environmental Quality.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's farther through his letter, but that's who said it. The interesting part of the equation is the first county who did this in the country was Beaverhead and Madison in 2000. And the person listed as a contact person for NEPA oversight is Horace Greckmill, who's on the last page of that memo.
I saw that name. Yeah.
And guess what? I still have his cell phone number in my wallet, which is a scary deal. But he was quite keen on the fact we were breaking ground the first time. So the federal government helped local government do this incredibly 20 years ago. So when they see the memo and they see this stuff, it's like, this is not changed, this is the law, this is the directives they have, and they're going to be quite keen. Plus, the local forest offices get credit for having a county or a city be a cooperator. So this is not only a kudo for us to make a difference, it's also a kudo for the agency to have the chance to do it. That'll help a lot.
Agree.
Sounds like a good idea, Juan.
Well, it worked for the other counties who did it very well. Kootenai had good luck. Beaverhead, Madison did it well. The Muscle Shell Planning Project, which was Marr, Wheatland, Golden Valley, Judith, Petroleum, Muscle Shell, and one other, I can't remember, Garfield maybe. They did very well doing it too, because for the first time when the BLM or the Forest Service did a plan, they weren't just getting the plan and then commenting on it to change it. They were in the process saying, no, can we add this? Can we do this? This is different. Can we do this? And the agency was quite keen. So it was really good. They got a better plan. And we, for the first time, had a seat at the table.
A few years ago, I went to some meetings in Missoula, one of them at U of M in the ballroom up there. The Forest Service was taking public comment, and the topic was the Great Burn and the recreation around it. And I spoke and said, it's not a wilderness area. There's a lot of snowmobilers, and there's still some miners up there. But my public comment just didn't, even though I represented Mineral County and said that we already have 11 wilderness areas with an hour and a half drive from Missoula, Montana. Why do we need another one? Everybody else's comment seemed to matter as much or more than mine. So how will this cooperator status put more, weight on what the county, the people that live here want for the area?
The way it puts the status on it is a couple of things. One, no one has the right to be a cooperator except other federal agencies, states, local governments, and Indian tribes. Number one. So NGOs, non-governmental organizations, nonprofits, etc., they cannot play. TU, the rest, do not get to do this. It's only a local government deal, tribal deal, or state deal. Number one. Number two, for the first time, what you were doing when you commented, Roman, is you were commenting on the plan that you were taking. You weren't making the plan. You were a plan taker, not a plan maker. The difference when you cooperate is you get to help write the plan in the room that writes it. Get to identify the issue on the front end. There's no guarantee you'll get everything you want. We set down the goal when we started with BLM at Dillon to figure if we could get 50% of what we thought mattered, we'd be thrilled. And we actually got like 90%. We did much better than we thought we'd do, but we also were straight. And they were straight with us. Nobody was there with an agenda. Nobody was there to cheat. Nobody was trying to shaft the public on a comment. Nobody was trying to hurt any particular agency. No. We're here to do the best job, and the expertise we have is our custom, our culture, our community. Recreational dollars for snowmobiles. It's a different thing had you had a seat at the table cooperating over that plan. We would have been able to include in the plan the recreational dollars to this committee, to this county, matter a lot. We need those, plus it's a chance to not be suddenly perfectly seasonal. So we take this summer crown like this, we have this winter with nothing, suddenly we level that out. We have summer, we have hunting season, then instead of this, we now have snowmobiles. Look at the difference it made at Hoodoo Pass when that was all that way. So what you get to do, Roman, is not be in the position that you are taking the plan, you're making it. And I think that perhaps is why a lot of persons don't sometimes understand the MACO question with yourself in particular, because what MACO does is not just take the plan. MACO for counties and for policy, for legislature, gets to make the plan, not just take it. So the odd part is how a small county with one person is the president of MACO can help drive that much more of the bus for small local governments, all 30 of us in the state that are small counties, can help push us to the position of making the plan for what the issues are instead of just taking what we get handed. So that's really the difference.
So you think with this new Lolo Forest Plan, in this cooperator status, we should be able to make it a change out here?
A huge difference, yeah.
Because it feels like it's an uphill battle whenever I attend those meetings, because I've been to some where they actually are taking comment from people that live in New York.
That's right.
And since it's federal land, they're saying their opinion is just as important as yours, even though they don't live here.
And their opinion is in that sense, but the difference is what we have as the local government is special expertise. That's what the memo says. We understand the economy, they do not.
Right.
We understand the custom and culture, who are we? So that's why I asked the library first thing, get me the numbers from the Bureau of Economic Research about what the average income is, what the jobs are, what are the employers, what's the average age, all those things that go in the equation. And so that's why we're getting the info updated, because we haven't done it for 20 years. But we have like 2 weeks to do it, and that's enough time, I hope.
Okay.
And we do have offices here waiting for the 9:30 appointment.
Yeah, so where do we go from here? You want to put this letter on our letterhead?
I think we should put the letter on your letterhead, and then you guys should sign it. We should send it that way. And it's addressed to the regional office in Missoula, the forest supervisor, and also to the local office here in Superior. And then I'll send a copy to the Office of General Counsel, which is legal for the Forest Service in Missoula, which is Jody Miller. And so I will get them a copy as a courtesy, because they will probably expect it coming, because I've done it with them before, and so they'll be happy to see it. And it's their memo they approve that we've redone, so I don't think there'll be a problem with it.
So, do we need to just have this be on our letterhead and sign as an administrative business, or does it have to be an action item? So,
If you've already elected the decision to say, let's do cooperative, it's just administrative business to sign it and send it off. But I think it should be on your signature, not mine, because I think it sends a much better statement to the Forest Service about who's playing here. I think that's really important, because you're speaking for the public to say, we, Monroe County, are gonna show up.
okay.
That's my thought.
All right, well, we'll transfer now into the next agenda item, and still with Wally, policy manual update.
Okay, this is just a statute that, it was quite interesting to talk to Mackenzie about this, Vaco, a couple times. Here's the thing, what they neglected to do when they did the foreign policy manuals years ago, is they didn't put in the state statutes. So there's two statutes, this just goes on the page regarding what local government is, and it says this: recognizing that Montana Code annotated 74-2203 identifies county officers, not county offices, county officers, and further recognizing that Montana state law authorizes the Board of Commissioners to supervise the official conduct of all county officers and others, which you do. Therefore, per MCA 74-2110-5, which is the issues of employment policies and counties, it is the policy of Monroe County that our county officers supervise staff in a manner that complies with the personnel procedures and policy adopted by the Board of Commissioners, including the process of creating and ending job positions and the process of hiring, managing, and terminating an individual's employments. This includes involvement of county HR staff and county commissioners and/or legal in the employment process of the county. So all it says is what we basically have done, but we never formally had all of it written down to recognize the state statute before. So the state statutes are 74-2203, which identifies who the county officers are. And then 74-2110 says 5 things that the commissioners do. Well, I wasn't worried about the other 4, because there are the other things about what are your duties officially, are you bonded, make your books available for public inspection, all of which is required by law. But the big one is the policy manual is what people have to follow, and that's in the state statute. So this just puts it in to the county's policy manual, where it should have been in the first place. It just got deleted years ago when people were proofreading things, or somebody hit the wrong button on the computer, I don't know. It seems like the form is that way. It's not just our book. When we got the templates from Mako, et cetera, years ago to do policy manuals, it looks like it got deleted from a whole bunch of them. That's the impression I get.
I have a couple questions about this.
Uh-huh.
Would you clarify, please? I know you said it's listed, but county officers are what we have previously called elected officials?
Right, and it's not just elected officials, it's
Right.
county officers.
Well,
Yeah.
who would other county officers be other than the elected officials?
I think it's persons who are appointed. If I can get the statute, I can give you an example. It's in 74-2110. I can get the book.
Oh, we can get that later.
Okay.
Because we'll kind of have a time crunch now.
Okay.
But then I also have another question relating to 742110. When it says that it is the policy that our county officers supervise staff in a manner that complies with the personnel procedures and policies, who is responsible for making sure that that happens?
Well, who probably shuts it in the end is either HR or commissioners if somebody is not, or somebody complains that they're not being either supervised that way if they got a problem. This is things like counting sick leave, counting days off, vacation, all those things like that. If somebody needs to be reprimanded or needs to be written up for something, how that process works, what you do, which call it discipline, call it whatever, call it evaluations, call it whatever. All the other things in the manual are part of that.
I want to be specific here since I continue getting feedback from the public on 2 issues. The number of breaks taken, offices not open while the breaks are being taken, and also arriving and leaving in a timely manner. How does that relate to this?
Those ones are probably both in the policy manual for
They
when
are.
you work.
They are.
So if people are not complying with that, either HR or the commissioners need to say, this is what needs to be complied with, and you're not, and do so.
And,
So then people have to do that. And county officers, if like you're an elected person who runs an office like Deb or whatever else, that runs the county attorney's office, if people are not doing it per the time, then she just gets told by the commissioners, per the law, you have to comply with the policy manual. And that's what the statute requires of her, per 7/4/2110.
so how do you address the conflict of what has always been said, what we're used to hearing? I am the county officer, I am the elected official, I'll run my office as I see fit. If I think it's appropriate for my employees and myself to take 5 breaks a day, then we're going to do that. How does this coincide with that?
The state law says you can't do that.
She's talking about furthermore.
Right.
I mean, even though it says, because there have been, in the past, that has been told, that has been mentioned to elected officials time and time again.
And that's been told, and it was wrong. Everybody missed the statute. This
But
is
we're
not.
talking about the follow-up, because the other follow-up that often other commissioners have told us, and they go is that, well, then you make good on your,
Right, and there's.
you take their budgetary, you
Right.
cut their budget so that they start falling into line, which sort of is shooting yourself in the foot, because then the public comes in and says, I'm not getting the service due, and they say it's because you cut their budget, so it's just back and forth.
So here is a story. The landmark forum for writs of mandate against county government in Montana is the mayor of Delavan versus the county attorney and the clerk and recorder of Beaverhead County. And who was the attorney who turned down $45,000 in attorney's fees because he wasn't going to whack the taxpayers when the county attorney and the clerk and recorder got whacked with a writ of mandate to do what the law said? It was me. It's a 2009 case. It's the landmark writ of mandate case in Montana about local government. So don't just cut the budget. If somebody does not comply with the law, which says this is what you do, they get whacked with a writ. And that is not a pleasant experience, as you well know from the writs against the county right now regarding law enforcement issues. So the choices are either A, cut the budget, but B, just comply with X, Y, Z, or C, here's a writ that says you have to comply with the state law, which says you comply with the employment policy procedures of the county government, which they are. So there's other remedies. You just don't like to go there. If you can help
When I was
it.
in Helena, I'm pulling up this bill that Representative Gist, I think he's out of the Great Falls area, House Bill 33. It is an act authorizing county commissioners to initiate civil proceedings and hire outside counsel and recover costs, providing for removal from office for violation of a writ of mandamus.
Yep.
And it's aimed at county, like, boards and officials that aren't doing what they're.
It is, that's true.
But so it's a bill. So
It
is there
is.
not enough teeth in it currently? That's why this bill is needed?
There's not enough teeth now because it doesn't specifically suggest officers. So what happens is if you don't like what a sheriff or somebody does, there isn't really a recall procedure. Commissioners, I can't really recall you easily. If you commit a felony, you get moved. But other than that, there isn't a way except to basically either get a writ of mandamus against you. So what he's doing is he's putting teeth in it. And this came out of a Boulder case, and this also came out of the Cascade County case regarding a county attorney previously and a sheriff. So he's on the cutting edge of it because they had some issues that were big issues, and they got whacked by a couple of judges for those, and there was no way to do anything about it except a recall, which is impossible. In history, only one mayor has ever been recalled in Montana, and only one city council has ever been recalled. It's ever been done 2 times in history. So it's a hard process. That's why he's doing this, because people acknowledge the time and the effort to recall is about impossible. And there is no recall against other county officers.
So I'm still unclear on how you get compliance with the
You get it
policy.
compliant, first you send a letter, say, this is a problem, we need to do this, tell us what your plan is. And if people are not going to comply with the plan that way, you bring an action for a writ of mandamus. And the county attorney's office does the work for the commissioners, and you don't have to hire private counsel to do it, we have to do it. That's the state law, says we will, and we just do a writ of mandate, say, this is what you have to do per the policy manual. And there it sits.
And that letter goes to the
Whoever the county
county
officer is that's
officer,
not
not
doing
to
it.
the employee of that office, but to
Right.
the county
The
officer.
county officer, make your people comply. And if an employee is not complying and tells the county officer, go to hell, I'm not gonna work the right hours, then we write them up for a violation of the policy manual, and then that's versus the person who's the employee who's not complying. That's a different discussion. Because
Okay,
what we do is help all the county officers comply, which is why they have to do compliance with the policy manual. And we do the same for all of them because we're supposed to, and we should, and they help us a lot. I even had, even right before the first year, Kellyanne and stuff was giving me an education in how some of the stuff we have in paychecks works, et cetera, because they're different everywhere you go. But we had to figure it out to understand how the process works to do that. So it's not a one-way street, it's a two-way street, but this officially says what the state policy is, and policy manuals, those people have to comply. And after the writ of mandate proceeding, we told the judge, we're complying and we're making sure it's in the record, and that's what we're doing.
Okay, so this is an action item with time, and then I guess there's another subject on here, but, so you're requesting that we take action and just make the MCA references in the policy manual.
Right, because that's really what the state law says, those are them.
Mhm.
And I gave you a copy of those, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. You should have the statutes, but they're just the state law. This is not a big change. The interesting part is this: if his bill does pass the House and Senate and gets signed, that should be referenced too. We would just add that like in May when it gets signed by the governor, but that should be signed as well. But I applaud the fact that for places where there's an issue, that what the legislature is doing is trying to provide a better fix, a simpler fix,
Right.
which they should. Good
Yeah.
for them.
Because it's sort of a big undertaking to go through the, some of these procedures with a judge, so they can make it more expeditious and
Yes.
a little bit easier to take action and get results.
Very much. I think that's a good idea if the legislature will do it.
All right, so should we entertain a motion, Wally's request to insert the reference of the code to the policy manual? This is the one you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
You also reference, there it is, 7.4.
It's 7/4/2012 and 7/4/2110.
2110.
I move that we amend our policy to include MCA 742203 and MCA 742110, effective January 6, 2023.
I would second that motion.
Okay. A motion and a second. Any other questions for Wally? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Colleen, how do you cast your vote?
Aye.
Aye, okay. I didn't hear you.
I wasn't loud enough. I know, just imagine me not being loud enough.
Okay, so now the next one, let's see,
It's not me.
9:45. Oh, adopting our annual resolutions for the county commissioners and what boards we're on and basic business hours and county operations. So we got all those resolutions. All right, first one, a resolution reorganizing the board of the county commissioners. Okay, so the first one is, how do we want to organize the board with our duties? Currently, I'm on the Resource Conservation Development and the Rural Economic Development, Union Negotiator, County Employee Drug Testing, Area 6 Agency on Aging, Juvenile Detention, and the Weed Board. And Mr. Simons, you're the Health Board Chair, you're the Human Resource Council.
And also the Monroe County Resource Coalition. And you just appointed me to the Health and Human Services and Justice and Public Safety. Oh, and and the soil conservation.
And jail and security, courthouse
Yeah,
security.
it's courthouse security.
Oh, okay. And then Commissioner Terrell, you are on the Hospital Board, Transportation Board, Local Emergency Planning Committee, Conservation District,
No.
DUI. Oh,
Yep, Keith.
scratch that one, that's the
Yep.
one. DUI Task Force and Resource Coalition.
Not resource, Dwayne is.
Wait, okay.
I am on the library board.
Okay, we want to just keep those as stated, same, basically the same as last year, except for the one we took away from Commissioner Terrell and gave to Commissioner Simons.
Actually, we took them away from Laura.
Oh, yeah.
That was Laura.
Okay, and then the other organization of the board is, I've been the chair for a long time, but every year, you know, some counties rotate. Do we have any nominations this year for chairman of the board of the Mineral County Commissioners?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for all your years of service here. It's not like we're kicking you out or anything. I think Don would be a good chairman. And I would nominate her.
Okay. Any other nomination? Are there any other nomination? You're not gonna point me?
Oh,
No, I'm
I
just
can.
joking. Okay,
I
hearing
can.
no other, oh, I'm joking, but if you do want to nominate. Okay. We have a nomination, so Commissioner Simon, do you want to make that nomination a motion?
Thought I did.
Oh,
But I
okay.
would make it a motion, yes.
Okay, and I will second it.
All right.
So, we have a motion and a second, open for discussion. I'll start discussion. I've been in a long time and I have absolutely, no, you're not kicking me out. I'm totally willing, we all should get this experience. Sometimes it's rather, what's the word? Can get rather, the seat gets hotter sometimes.
Yeah.
So I'm totally willing to share that heat with a new chair, presiding officer, or Madam Chair, however you want to be referred to. How
Well,
shall we, well, when we cast the motion or cast the vote, what are we going to announce this
presiding chair, I think.
presiding chair?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
But I would like to say thank you for this opportunity, because that's what it is an opportunity to learn. I've studied under you for quite a while. And so I would still appreciate all the guidance the two of you give me for making motions and for ending those motions. Everything that you can do to help me would be greatly appreciated, and I do appreciate this opportunity.
Well, not that we're that smart, but we have learned from trial and error.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, we'll help you not make our mistakes. So, all right, when were you last the chair?
Been quite a while.
Okay, maybe next week.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions or discussion on this board organization, including the motion for chair? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 I
Okay.
didn't know how I was supposed to vote.
You don't have to recuse yourself from that, I don't think. You don't have to get any more money. Okay. The other one here is resolution providing for public participation in establishing regular meeting dates and times with the board and county commissioners for the calendar year 2023. So, the, to assure adequate notice and assist with public participation before any decisions are made, public comment portion of the meeting, the board will post its weekly agenda, specifically identifying such matters on the main hallway bulletin board in the Mineral County Courthouse, and the agenda shall include an item identified as public comment on agenda matters with the commissioner's jurisdiction. The weekly agenda will be posted no later than 48 hours preceding the next scheduled weekly meeting. Matters that require statutory notice by publication or posting will be complied with as the particular statute may require. If county business requires, the county commissioners will hold regular meetings on Friday of each week. So, yeah, do we want to still keep it Fridays, or do we need a different day? No, Fridays are working. I guess everybody's kind of locked into that with their memory. Keep it as Friday. These meetings will take place in Mineral County Commissioner's meeting room, in the courthouse, otherwise posted. Meeting days are subject to change with proper notice. Prior to taking final action on matters of interest to the public or presented at the public comment portion of the previous meeting, the chairman or officer of the board will provide reasonable time for any person to submit data or comments either orally or in writing regarding the final action that may be taken. The office of the Board of County Commissioners will be open for business 9 a.m. until 4 every Friday or until business is complete. All meetings of the county commissioners are open to the public unless closed as provided by statute. So, on the agenda thing, we do a mass email distribution as well. It's not just, right? Do we ever?
We do. I do an email. There's over, probably 220 people that we email. Mass distribution, yes.
So basically, just everything's going to be maintained as the same as last year, with Fridays and hours and such. So the resolution for that is 1-6-2023B. It's the first one, but it's the same except for it's 2023A, about the chairman and the boards were on. This is regular meeting dates and times resolution. I just read it. Is there a motion to entertain this resolution? Oh, she's the chair now, maybe she should be running this. Maybe I should make the motion. Presiding officer.
I was just getting ready.
I move that we adopt resolution 1-6-2023B regarding public meeting dates and times.
I second that.
Is this where we have any discussion? Is there any discussion?
I don't have any, do you?
Help me out here, Roman. I wasn't,
Okay, then if there isn't any, then I'll.
those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Is that what? Motion passes.
Okay.
Aye.
Oh, you want to continue or want me to continue?
No, you can, and I'll
Okay, and then
keep my.
we'll take the full
yeah.
gavel next.
Sure, I'm gonna.
Okay. This next resolution is 1-6-2023C, a resolution of the Board of County Commissioners setting the daily rate for payment of costs for use of detention center.
And I don't have those costs. I wasn't able to get those yesterday, so we'll have to check with Wayne
Yeah,
to
so
see if he has those.
Counselor Condon, if my memory serves me correct, that we are allowed to, with the help of the sheriff, arrive at a daily cost rate for inmates
Yes,
in our jail.
yes.
But like, one time we wanted to really make it be worth our while with the cost, but the state statute says we have to be basically commensurate with the true and actual cost of somebody housed here versus Missoula, because Missoula County's charging like 120 or so,
Yes.
and we're at, what are we at, Ryan?
89 for feds.
89.
65 for state.
And, oh, and the state just tells us that, we don't get to negotiate on that, do we?
Yeah.
But how about if we have an inmate from another county or a warrant from Idaho, and they're in here, and the other agency's paying the bill, they're not the 89 because they're not fed, and they're not the 65 because they're not state, so what if it?
I think it's somewhere right in the middle. I talked to Don yesterday a little bit about it. Wayne has ultimately.
Seems like it used to be like $79.50, is that ring a
Yeah.
bell?
We could check last year's, somewhere, I think there's a $96 something from last year.
I don't know if it's the,
But we can check last year and then confer with Wayne and you.
Yeah.
Okay.
because, yeah, it says, whereas the actual cost for use of a detention center per day, dollar amount, in addition, a one-time booking fee of, and what's our booking fee now, 25?
I think something like that, yes.
I wonder if we should let Ryan look at this and then maybe come back
Yeah,
to it so that
absolutely.
we
Yeah,
can
we
have
talked
your,
yesterday.
have
Yep.
your involvement, your input, so that we're
Yeah,
making
we
the
can.
right.
We talked yesterday, I'm just dealing with mold,
Oh,
so,
I think
Yeah,
that, I
just,
think I did again.
yeah, we can,
Okay, I just hope that that was remedied immediately.
yeah, I figured I'd bring it up at public
Yep, okay.
comments.
so, Sheriff Funk, if we temporarily table this, and I'll announce it, that we'll revisit that resolution today, so if people want to be involved, what time should we set for revisiting that today?
Revisit it today.
Or do you need more time than that?
I would say, I'm hoping
Put it on
to have
next
probably
week?
like an hour or two next Friday.
We can do it next Friday. That was
If we can do it next Friday.
so resolution 1-6-2023C will be on the agenda next Friday
Yeah.
to arrive at correct numbers that we can increase per statute and make it satisfactory to running the jail back there.
Yeah, 'cause I talked to Sheriff Hano 2 days ago, and I believe they get the same 89 from the feds, so we're, right there with Flathead County also, so.
Yeah, but I'm mainly concerned with the other, yeah, because the feds and the state, they kind of tell us what they're gonna pay. Hopefully the legislature will, I know that that's hurting jails, like Missoula's normally 120 a day, but
Yeah.
they're only paying them 65.
Yeah.
And they're really screaming that they can't take these DOC when it's a losing venture for them.
Yep.
But the legislature sets that rate, and we're kind of. But the one we can set would be everybody else.
Yep.
And we just can't make it punitively unfair.
Right.
That's the reason why the rule is there.
Right.
That's why we did it with debtor's prison, which was what it turned into.
Ah.
It makes sense. The fact that Cashman and Ryan have got an idea of what it is that's reasonable, that's what we can go to. And that works great.
All right, so the next one is resolution D, same date, numbers. Now this is D part, where is a resolution to establish travel, meals, and lodging rates for calendar year 2023. So for those that don't know, that means when our elected officials or other employees travel for training, we don't have that many county cars, so it's the mileage that they are reimbursed for when they drive. And for state statute, they are allowed allowance for a meal during the day, or if they're overnight, more than one meal. And we just basically go with the state rate that is announced. So this year, the state rates being put forth for all counties to use are: breakfast is $7.50 reimbursement, lunch $8.50, and a dinner evening meal $14.50. So a total for all day, if they were overnight somewhere, would be $30.50 if they would be allowed, if they, in fact, not for a conference where they're getting lunch served to them by the Forest Service or whoever, those would not be allowed because that would be a double. You got to eat, you can't charge for it. And there is also a state rate for out of state, so should somebody have to travel out of state in Idaho for a conference or Washington for a treasurer's meeting, although I don't know if that's ever happened. But something like that. I know that the health nurses have gone out of state. The morning meal in that case would be $13, the lunch would be $15, and the nighttime meal $26, total of $54. And county attorney, sheriffs, assessors, and justice of the peace may attend their respective meetings or conventions held in the state and are allowed actual traveling expenses for attending the meeting or convention of their peers. Mineral County policy is to follow the state Montana travel reimbursement policy. So the in-state lodging reimbursement rate this year is $98 plus tax, with an exception of certain communities listed in Exhibit A. So these certain communities are those high-end resort places where, like, Flathead County is one, Gallatin and Park County, even Missoula County. The lodging rates then are different as per the schedule. Missoula is 106, but in the summertime it's 167. Lewis and Clark is 107. Gallatin County is $279. But anyway, outside of these high-end West Yellowstone, Gardner, Bozeman, Kalispell, Whitefish, the rate will always be the state's $98 plus tax. Exhibit A is a tax, so if anybody wants to know what they're allowing for those different areas, it's posted there. So that is the proposed reimbursement amounts for out-of-pocket lodging and travel expenses for county employees and county elected officers when they are away from home on business. So, is that Anybody want to deviate from the state's recommendation and what the other counties are adopting? Or is this satisfactory to comply with the resolution as I just stated?
I move, excuse me, I move that we accept the resolution as stated.
I second that.
Okay, any other questions, discussion? All in favor of adopting resolution 1-6-2023D regarding reimbursement rates? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. So this is the last one. Same number, but E, Part E, resolution to set official holiday for the calendar year. Mineral Board of County Commissioners designate the following dates. Usually we're just following the state holidays again. So sometimes there's 10, sometimes there's 11. This year, 1, 2.
No general election this year.
So there's only 10. And those would be New Year's Day, January 2. That's already behind us. Martin Luther King Day, January 16th. President's Day, February 20. Memorial Day, May 29. Independence Day, July 4. Labor Day, September 4. Columbus Day, October 9. Veterans Day, November 13. Thanksgiving Day, November 23. Christmas Day, December 25. Those are the 10 holidays instead of 11, like you said. Normally there's one for election day when it's a federal election. So there's 10 that will be paid for employees as holiday pay, where they get to stay home with their family and earn a paycheck.
I move that we accept resolution, I don't know what. number
Yeah,
it
it's
is.
1/7/20. Oh, how come this one's 1/7, not 1/6? All of them's been 1/6. I'll just
It
change
is 1/6, yep. Sometimes there are gremlins in the computer.
Okay, 1/6/2023E is the resolution. Okay,
Did you make that motion?
I did make that motion.
Okay, I second that motion.
okay. Any other questions, discussion on holiday calendar? All in favor, say aye.
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 I know that we're running a little late, but there's one thing I didn't hear that I don't know if it needs to be in a resolution. But since we're moving into videotaping, where would you put that if we wanted to make some boundaries for videotaping? I have some suggestions that have come forth. Would those go in a resolution, or how would
We'll
you?
probably go in the one where we organize the boards and the procedures and the chairman.
Okay.
Or you could make a whole new one, I guess, specifically to that. It needed, what does the Councilor Congdon think about a different, entirely different resolution of part F regarding, or would that go in with who was on the boards and the business hours?
Or you can put it with your meetings regarding public comment and those things that can go in that resolution happily.
Oh, okay,
That's the best place to put it, probably.
Okay,
let me find that one.
so how do we do that? Do we back up, amend it, or we scratch that and we start that one over?
Yeah,
What's that legal process?
I think you can propose it as an amendment, and then if we want to adopt it, we'll amend that resolution. Regarding
The amendment
Okay.
that I would, oh, okay,
yeah, part B, it is resolution providing for public participation and establishing regular meeting dates and times of the Board of County Commissioners. And so we could have it, we have it hereby resolved to assure adequate notice, we have it hereby resolved to have public comment identified on the agenda, we have it resolved, it's posted 48 hours, so this would probably be the resolution part B if you want to insert. Right now we have 7, we could have part 8 if that
okay.
is what you want to amend resolution 23B.
If it takes a resolution, Wally, what I would like to propose is that in the day of videotaping, I would like to see the commissioners with their own equipment, and we've had several funding sources come forth to do that. And then I would like the commissioner's assistant to be in charge of that videotaping and posting and keeping track of the electronic record. Furthermore, what I think we should do then is have all other videographers who are here on their own stay in one section in the back of the room, where the commissioner's assistant would be here videotaping, and it would be our official videotaper. Does that need to go in the resolution, or how do we make that more than a custom?
I would put it in there that way, because this is the same thing you go through with the press. So when the newspapers come for meetings and numbers, there's usually a designated place. Look at the White House press corps, what they
Yes,
what
yeah.
they do. So you have the obligation to say, people have the right to be there, et cetera. But for example, when we videotaped at Sanders County
That's
a
where I
month
took,
ago,
yes, yes.
they just pick and say, this is where we can do, this doesn't disrupt stuff. So then, the better part for persons who want to videotape, like Juliet does it a lot, which is good, but if you say, this is the expectation of where you can set up and where you can do, then they have a reasonable expectation. And
Okay.
the other part is, the persons who are actually doing it, like the press may say, this place doesn't work, can we set it up so it's this place, this works better, this is more visible? Then you come up with a workable solution. That's how to do it.
What
And then
I
there's
would-
not an unreasonable burden on the public, not
Sure.
an unreasonable burden on the commissioners.
I would like to propose that we do designate a press area, which would be in the back of the room, and the commissioner's assistant doing official minutes for us or official taping would be in this end, like I saw at Sanders County. So I don't know if that has to go in part of the resolution
We'll
also.
put it in the resolution.
that
and
part
do it
also.
that way. That should work.
I'll go first, then you. So Sanders County had their own
Yes.
commissioner video?
But I don't know who he was, what his role was, but yes, he videotaped.
Cassieri did it that day, he's got a press card, but he did it that day for Sanders County,
Oh, okay,
and they kept the record.
okay, they did. Juliet?
So you are now wanting to make a resolution that you will, that you are going to electronically record these meetings? And are you also, based on public law, going to make that a part of the record? In other words, the law states,
Juliet, we're going to
pulled the
follow the
second
law. So when you do electronic taping, yes, you do have to keep the record forever, and it's available when people call up and say, when did this take place? And we can direct you to that electronic file.
and where are you going to do that? On your website, or are you
No, it's
gonna
not
get a
going on the
YouTube,
website.
or where are you gonna put the video?
I can't answer that right now. I'll talk to Mary Furlong because she's done that for a lot of years for us, and so I'll talk to her to find out where that is best kept. But everything will be according to law.
So do you know the answer to that, Wally? I mean, what is considered safekeeping of that record if the county operates it as opposed to
If
private?
the county keeps it safekeeping and stuff, put it in the archives, et cetera, I would give you two observations. This is from the history guy who does this. The beauty of having written minutes or a written commissioner's journal is I can read it 100 years after it's written with no trouble. If you think I'm kidding, find somebody with a typewriter who can read a floppy disk today. There aren't any. Find somebody who can read a hard drive for an IBM Selectric 2 from 1985. So the problem you have is, who's got a VCR machine to read a videotape at home? So what happens is the archives need to be kept so the archives can be held onto, that they're visible and safe. If the building burns down and caves in, you're gonna lose some, and that's where it goes, but that's what you do. So the question becomes then, what's a reliable way, so in 20 years, the technology hasn't outdated the record? So really, that's the thing to consider as we go, because we don't know what the technology, 30 years ago, nobody had a cell phone. So when you think about it, I think the only thing to write in is, we'll archive those in the building to save them in a safe place. However, we will also update our savings mechanism as required based on changes in technology. Because otherwise, the technology means you lose the record. And that's the problem that people are starting to have.
So Wally, I understand what you just said should be written. When we YouTube, do they have to be kept then forever and change with technology?
You don't keep them forever, but you keep the written record as long as you have.
Written, yes, I understand written. I'm talking about, the
And
YouTube,
the other ones you should keep as long as they function, because they are priceless.
as long as they function.
Yeah,
Okay,
as long as you can use them. The incredible part that you need is not so much what people said. It's the maps, It's the pictures, it's the diagrams, it's the raw base numbers for people, population, income, those things. And that's what's get lost. So keeping the record as long as you can helps those things a lot. Who we be, who we were at this point, that's gonna help a ton.
But is a YouTube video considered, if the county is recording it as opposed to a private individual, is that considered an archival area to maintain
Yes,
a county recording?
yes, it can be, but you should also
Can.
put it in the commercial journal as well. There's a record, you had a meeting this date, this is what you did. Yeah, the agenda basically, yeah.
You just said can be.
You can make part of that record, the YouTube video, or whatever it is, that you save it on the disk, the thumb drive, the whatever. But the commissioner journal is the written record that saves it.
Yes.
So, okay, Juliet, go ahead.
I'd also like to point out that the public is not media or news. So if you're going to say that I'm media or news, you are inaccurate. I am the public. So if somebody's sitting over here and uses their cell phone to record you, are you going to put them in the corner too? Because I'm not media and I'm not news. I am the public.
And I would say, Juliet, I don't know about the other two commissioners, then I'll change the word to public. That the public and the press should be in one area in the
All
back of the
recording,
room.
just worded all
Yeah,
recordings.
all
would be
recordings,
done.
there you go. But I do want the commissioner's assistant recording for us officially to be here, looking out at the public. Thank you, I was able to clarify that.
I wonder if, since we're gonna be revisiting 2023C with Mr. Funk next week about the jail rates, that maybe this one would merit having its
Yes,
own,
so that we get the
its own resolution,
verbiage,
so
yeah.
it'd be,
And
F-
perhaps
F-
public comment?
and then,
I propose it as a resolution. I am proposing it not as a public comment. You're welcome to comment on it, but I am suggesting this as a resolution that we will follow. But you are always welcome to comment.
So,
But not at this time, because this isn't public comment time and we're already running behind. So I invite you, please come back at public comment and let's have your comments then.
I just have a point of clarification, or question.
Can we-
When
can
are we allowed to comment?
we- the public comment.
Only, the only time we can ask questions on
For right
anything?
now, it's gonna be
Not
public
according to
comment.
public law.
So we'll
According
talk
to
about
public
that.
meeting law, at the end of each discussion,
Well,
they're allowed to come.
Excuse me, Roman, I don't know if you want to address that or not,
I'll
but,
let,
or
I'll let the
Wally.
counselor, 'cause
Yeah,
I'm not
because
sure
we
about-
discussed that already. I discussed that with Wally.
Yeah. Public comment does not have to be after every topic of discussion and generally is not.
I know
It's
what
on
it says,
items
Julianne.
which are not on the commissioner's agenda generally, because that's the difference between a public hearing and public comment. So it's not a he said, she said, rebuttal, or whatever else deal. In fairness, everyone has a chance to play. So public comment is set aside at a specific time, a specific thing to say, this is when we'll take public comment. And that's generally on things not on the commissioner's agenda or the city's agenda for that day. Then, if it's something that requires public comment at the public hearing or public comment on the resolution or the ordinance or whatever, then there's a he said, she said back and forth. And the article that's included in your resource use plan, and I'll give you another copy, was an article from a federal land use planner in the 1970s called Due Process, the Elements of Fair Play. And I'll give you a copy of it because it makes it very, very plain how that works and what it's for. So as long, you have to have public comment on the agenda, but it's not after every discussion. It's a public comment period that does it, period, and people can comment in that. So you can also put a time limit on how long public comment is. 5 minutes each, 8 minutes each, 11 minutes each, whatever. You can also have a time that's reasonable, because you can't spend a whole day with public comment.
Thank you. And I know that we're 20 minutes over. And I do need to ask if we could just take a 3-minute break before we start, even though I know that you're 20 minutes we're behind.
So we're just gonna make 2023 Part F be a resolution that specifically addresses the video proposal of yours?
I think so.
Next
If
slide.
That's what Wally, yep.
Because we'll be listening to Sheriff Funk on Part C, jail thing, and we can go to 2023 F, and maybe then you'll have research these things like archiving it, where you, because, you know, that's gonna be a problem if we're required to make a copy of it, stick it in a file down on the vault, that's gonna be different than if you keep
Right.
it on YouTube, yeah.
Right, and Mary Furlong, I will confer with her, but as Wally said, it's as long as it functions.
It's your
So,
option to keep it functional and make that part of the record.
Option.
And the Commissioner Journal is the best record. The other thing we'll put in the video thing is, and Juliet's is minimal, but the fact that there's cords, those are an issue. So what happens is wherever you put people, there needs to be a rug or it needs to be so people don't trip on cords or microphone wires or whatever else. There's also a
I know,
public safety.
I know. Okay,
Just so you know, we'll put that in
Sure.
next week. We'll get it
Okay.
on there for a good reason.
okay,
All right, so then, right now, we'll just be adjourned for a 3-minute
yeah, great.
break, and then we'll come back with the agenda of,
And can yeah, unless you guys have a lot of discussion on my topic, I don't mind if these guys go.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, because then we're behind,
Okay.
yeah.
okay, we'll be back in
Yeah.
3 minutes, so, 10:25. Thank you, we've got this, all right, so now on the agenda is questions regarding the agenda, Mineral County road policy, building applications, our website, garbage costs, taxes, cooperator status. All right, Mr. Burley and Mr. Peck. Hey, how come you have my hat on?
I thought it was mine. Did you find that in the ditch? I did.
All right,
Well, again, thanks for having us here. And as we say at every meeting, we're just here to try to throw out some ideas here that might be helpful for the county and for you guys to react to. And since the last meeting I've been to, and I've been to lots of county commissioners over the years, this structure here is far superior to what I've seen in a long, long time. Because you have people here that are addressing the commission talk directly to them. You have those controls, you don't have people talking over each other, bickering back and forth. It's the people that are sitting at this table can have direct contact with the commission, which is what's going on. Before, it was a free-for-all in here, and there was absolutely no control. And somebody said it's the last meeting, they made a comment that I'd like to see more professionalism in county commissioners, and I agree with that. The last meeting was an embarrassment to the county, in my opinion, so I just wanted to point that out, that I'm happy to see where we're at. I know we have a changing in the guard, and thank you, Roman, for your years of service, and Blaine yours as well, and welcome aboard, Don.
Thank you.
So I'm hoping that that gavel will slap down a few times, and we've seen some controls here today, because people are used to, because there has never really been a policy in place here. If there has been, it's not been implemented, and people just start talking. And so when I come to talk to you, I come for a reason, and I don't want to be, I mean, the last time we were here, we came with an agenda item, and we ended up talking about things that weren't even close to our agenda. So it's really disruptive, and it's time consuming, and it needs to be structured. So I sent a couple of copies of other counties and things to Dawn as a pattern that maybe we could take a look at and structure something here so that the public knows what the rules are when they come in here. That you just don't start talking and you just don't take over the floor when somebody really has it. Those are not not rules of order at all. So anyway, a lot of that's been, or some of the things that I plan to talk about have been addressed already, but that's kind of the crux of the thing. I would really like to see us have something posted so when people know that when they come in, they just don't get the opportunity to do what we've done for the last 10 or 15 years. So, and I think that would benefit the commissioners because it makes your time go faster. You stay on a budget or on a time frame that you can get your work accomplished and you can get out of here and you can do you don't have to sit up there and watch your cell phone or go through your warrants and sign them. You actually have time to do that because everybody has a time limit. You're in here, you're out of here, and you guys have time to do what you need to do. So I think that's important. So those are things that I want to bring up as an agenda item. Any comments?
Sounds good.
Okay. Probably the next thing that I want to talk about, or the roads. And is Jason here? Yeah, good. I don't know if anybody's, we've talked a little bit, not talked a little bit, we've talked quite a bit. We've been coming here for a month now. And at the very first meeting, we talked about the Schedule A and the Forest Development Road Cooperative Agreement that nobody knew anything about. And Don and Wally dug in the archives and found that. And if you read that, we've been missing out on thousands, maybe millions of dollars of revenue since 1965. And so when we hear that we're a broke county and we don't have the money to do those things, when you read this thing right here and what we've passed up over the years, would have put a lot of money towards your county coffers. So, and some examples of that, if you read this, and it pertains to Schedule A, and Jason can maybe during the comment period talk about that, or unless you guys want to call on him, but it designates which roads are Forest Service jurisdiction, which roads are county jurisdiction, which roads are to be bladed commensurate with use. So there's a number of those roads that I'm aware of that the logging's been going on, well, I'll just use Birdie Creek out there for one in our area. The fires in 2017, they've been logging on that since 2017. There's been administrative Forest Service traffic up and down that. There's been logging traffic up and down that. There's been public traffic down there. There's woodcutters in there after the fact. That's commensurate with use. That's proportionate with use. And there's a few houses on, there's three now. Two full-time people that live up there, and the rest is all public use. But yet, do we maintain that road, Jason?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been doing that all these years without getting a penny from the Forest Service. And that's just one example of one road that's on that list that you guys been signing all these years that we haven't sat down because we didn't understand that we have that right to do those things. And so at some point, and I think that you guys need to take that as an action item as to how you're gonna get that done. Jason, in my opinion, I told you that at 2 different meetings, does not have time to sit down and negotiate these items if he's running a snowplow or a road grader or trying to run a crew or doing what he's doing out there. This takes some time to do, but once it's established, it's not a big deal. But it's never been done for many, many, many years, and it needs to be reinstated. Somebody has to do it. So it might be something that you might think about with, I'm gonna speak, I get slapped, but your new resource manager here, it might be a job for him, because he understands that thing, and he understands working with the Forest Service. So, anyway, I've read this extensively. I don't know if you guys have. I hope you have a copy of it up there, but if not, you can get one. But there's a lot of information in there that pertains to, and this is, back, I don't know, 40 years ago when we were doing roads, the same thing was in place for industry, and we did that. We sat down with Forest Service every year, talked about what roads we were going to do, which ones we were going to be using, how much use was going to be implemented by the Forest Service, how much was going to be by the industry, and decided who was going to pay for what share. And I look at some of them, and I believe, I look at this right. Dry Creek Road, for one, out there is a Forest Service designated road. And as we all know, there's quite a recreational area going up there to Diamond Lake year-round. Plus, there's a lot of hunting in there. There's permit boxes there for the Warnken Ranchers, things like that. So there's a lot of public traffic using that road, and I believe the county's been maintaining that road and patching the asphalt and doing all that by themselves for a number of years, at least up as far as where the county road maintenance ends at the end of the private property. But there's quite a stretch of that in between that's Forest Service. So there's just a number of roads throughout the county that we're doing the work for the Forest Service, not getting compensated for it. And it's just a matter of, we've just never done it. And I don't remember if we've ever done it, or if it's just something that's just gotten passed by over the years. But it's certainly something that you guys need to take a hard look at and see what we can do to get engaged.
Road foreman, please, do you know when Nick Kegel or whoever brings, you guys talk about the, annual Schedule A, what's the negotiating process like? What's talked about or taken away or added? How do
We don't usually talk about what their projects are. We try to get on board with a few, we got them to, we talked about Birdie Creek, when they were logging up there, they did ditch and do culverts, replace a couple culverts and did some work on that road. They did do Cedar Creek, they gravelled that when the logging was going on up Oregon Gulch and some of that. But yeah, as far as their projects, usually when Nate brings in a project, it's usually specific to a certain funding source, whether it be Rails to Trails or whether it be a different one, he usually has to tie those to something. So we're not involved. We've never been involved with those, what they're proposing. We've tried to jump on a few and they've been pretty decent about, extending and helping us a little bit, but it's usually a little bit.
Well, and thanks for that, Jason, that's good information, but according to this, we have every right to be at the table to negotiate the projects every year. And so, I know it's probably just fallen into past practice, but it's something you need to take a hard look at and sit down and say, well, and Jason and I talked about it a little bit, is if you're gonna do the Cedar Creek Road, must include the lower half of the road too. Or, I use Flat Creek a number of times, Dry Creek's one, Keystone is one. I think that I called Jason this morning and talked about, and he said it's a county road, but it's also on here as a commensurate with use, Keystone, beginning at the intersection with I-90 frontage road. And so that's commensurate with use. So if the Forest Service is using that road at all, they're supposed to help maintain it. That's what we signed. And so, and it may be a hurdle that, because they're not used to it either, but it was common practice back in my day. So, I guess I'd just like to hear from you guys what the next move should be and how you're gonna go about getting us back on a level playing field here, because it's significant dollars. Especially if you're talking projects, and this refers to oiling, it refers to ditch cleaning, it refers to garbage pickup on the road. All of that is supposed to be sat down and discussed. You have a slide somewhere on a road, you're supposed to share in that cost. The county shouldn't have to do that. Keystone might be an example of something catastrophic happen up there. The Forest Service should play a part in that. The county shouldn't have to do it all.
What month typically is it that talked about the roads with the Forest Service?
Usually in the spring, this year it was the fall because the schedule there was, we tightened it up a little bit as far as distances and stuff, but usually it's in the spring is when we talk about that stuff.
So another 4 or 5 months, that'll be something.
Probably earlier than that, maybe 10, probably 2 months.
But I would suspect that if they have plans for this pass-through money that we provide for them, they're probably drawing plans right now, I would suspect. That's usually what Forest Service does in the winter months, is do their design work, and then they probably come to Jason in spring and say, here's our plan. So I think it's something we should be doing now, is talking to them and saying, if you got a project, we want to be involved in it. And speaking to what Wally talks about, it calls us a cooperator in this. We are listed as a cooperator. So,
Mr. Beck?
So I'd just add, certainly this is something that could fall under my responsibilities here. And we have done a lot of talking yet about what that looks like for us. So I would just say that I will ensure that this gets on within the discussions here about how much of that is going to be fall under my responsibilities and working with Jason and whatever we do there. And but I just want to say that I'll make sure that gets on the agenda for us to discuss at least, and then get back to this group with an answer And I think we can do that in, depending on how a few other things go here with, our discussions. But we should be able to get back to the group here in a couple of weeks with an answer on how we expect to, interact with the Forest Service and make sure those things get done. And, you know, there's a lot of ways to do that we just need to discuss those and so we're all on the same page on how we do that moving forward. I know I will probably have a pretty free hands, but I also know that I'm gonna have to be talking with Jason, so we're not going two different directions. And also we need to include the commissioners in the discussion, so everybody knows who's saying what and when and where. Only thing I'm saying here is I make sure that gets on in our discussion as we talk about the things that I'm going to be doing and how it might affect what Ken's talking about here, or what we put out forward to the group, so.
Mr. McLeod, in the past, if the Forest Service, let's say they have a big sale, they let Heat Creek or something, and suddenly there are a bunch of log trucks coming down out of it, do they ever talk about grading the road, improving the road, or is it just up to us to go back and do it 3 times instead of once a year or whatever, because
It's been up to us, you know, it's been maybe 15 years ago, I don't remember, talking with Lori, and she was kind of talking to the Forest Service, and I kind of went after that a little bit of why we weren't getting some of that money, I think part of it was that year they hauled out of Lozo and tore up the pavement there, and what was gonna happen, and came back to me, and I don't know if it's correct or not, but what I was told was, since we were getting the federal funds, the secure SRS money, that we weren't going to get part of that, sale money anymore, and like I said, that was
they're
the way
saying
it came
that
back to me.
was the
And that may be incorrect, I
Do
don't
you
know.
remember who may have alluded to that?
Geez, it's been a long time ago, so I don't remember.
Mr. Peck?
So I just add to that, during the early stages of project planning, through scoping, but prior to that's even better, the earlier the better, we can certainly get the Forest Service to include some of those maintenance. I mean, we did a project, not been done yet, but it's on the schedule to be done up on the Bitterroot Forest in Ravalli County, and it includes paving of a county road. So, but that wouldn't have happened if the county hadn't been at the table and very forcefully pushing, you know, there's a bridge repair to do and some other things on county roads. So you can get those things in there. They don't expect SRS to pay for all that, and Jason, there may be some things that they do expect to come out of SRS. But, you know, those types of things aren't put on, the burden isn't on the county to do those in all cases. And the only way we'll have an effect on that is to be there at the table very early, which I do that, but I've never been there looking out specifically for county interests. So that's something that we can certainly talk about, and if that's something the commissioners want to do, we have that authority and the power to get that done. So, and I'm not to say that we get all the things that we want every time, but there's always things that we do get, so.
Yeah, we take as much help as we can get off those projects, because they do impact the costs for sure.
Well, Willie, I keep going back to the Camel's Hump Road, you know, for the number of loads of logs that has come off both sides of the highway going up there. The Forest Service has completely turned their back on that road, and we get chuck holes that big around that deep, you can see dirt in the bottom of them, and I asked Jason to go up and patch them because nobody else will, and somebody drives in that and wrecks their car, you know?
And Dwayne, that is on the schedule here at Tamarack Creek Road for commensurate reviews. And so they should, without fail, have to help fix that road.
On Tamarack, or you talking about Camel's Hump itself?
Oh, okay. I was thinking.
But it should be the same.
Same.
I remember having that conversation with Tanya Brummett when we first started talking with sales up there, you know, and I said, well, does this mean that some money will go into maybe repaving some of that road or fixing that road a little bit, you know, because it's horrible up there now.
Yeah.
It'll be down in the dirt.
You're talking about the asphalt Camel's
Yeah,
Hump Road, the
yeah,
main road
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Is that a county road?
The Forest Service maintains that, don't they, Jason?
Yeah, we maintain both ends, right?
Yeah.
Like 3 miles on both ends, and then
The rest
the
of it-
middle is a mix of Forest Service and state.
Most of it's for
Ownership.
I can attest to this, Mr. Burley, because when I was on the highway patrol, we had a chemical hazardous spill right at the corner there by Warp Creek. And the DES people thought that it had the possibility of poisoning everybody within 3 miles or whatever. So I remember back when I was younger, that, you know, that was a detour, the state highway, interstate for all the bridge. So I thought it was state, so I put all the traffic on the Camel's Hump Road. We did a quick run, someone went up there and saw a tree out of the way. So I had Walmart trucks and semis and everybody, it was for like 12 hours that everybody had to go around, otherwise they'd been at a standstill for hours. And then on Monday, I got called in and told, you can't do that because that's a Forest Service road. I said, yeah, but it was a state road, wasn't it? Nope, that was under a memorandum of understanding during the construction period. That's why the state went in and put in guardrail, there was a passing lane they put in there and paved it. But after the MOU expired, the Forest Service just letting it go to hell, you know, so it looks kind of like a modern road, people are driving on it, got a guardrail, but it's not being maintained whatsoever, except for those 3 miles on either end by Cabin City and down towards St. Nina's.
Similar to the Joe and
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, but again, I think that's what Willie's saying, you have a place at the table now to talk about some of those things, if they're gonna be logging out of there, and that's what Wally's working on, and we do have that resource plan in place. It's been there since 2003 that these guys came up with, but it's just never been implemented. And so it's refreshing to talk about that stuff here, because it sounds like it's moving forward, but the point is, you have some teeth there. You have some teeth right now according to these documents. So we just need to make some decisions and get somebody to go start the process. Now,
Well, and you're absolutely right that it's been kind of like past practice. When I was a brand new commissioner, my colleague then just said, oh, no, this sign is what we do all the time, just to keep the local people that live on these roads so they have, you know, accessibility in the snowplow. So, yeah, we just did it, but it would be worth our while to actually maybe sit down next time with Willie and T-Bone and ask questions of them about, you know, a better negotiating system instead of just carte blanche, signing the line. But that's what has been done, you're right, absolutely right.
well, and with that being said, you have your own resolutions that, you know, there is a comprehensive road policy resolution 4-8, -93. And it speaks to those things. And, you know, that's been in place since 93, and the reason they did that was just because of what you're talking about. They were, Jason will remember this, I'm sure I do, they were plowing driveways, snow plowing in the west end, you remember the fight that went on around, and it was just, so they wrote this policy. And in this policy, you guys are required every 3 months to sit down with Jason and put together a program for the next 3 months, which was on our very first agenda. Is there a road plan? Is there, are you conversing with the road foreman? Are you figuring out where we're going, or is it just helter-skelter out there? It's in your resolution to do that. So, you know, we're trying to bring these things forward for your knowledge. We're not sitting here trying to like blame. But some of the tools are there for us to use. We just have to go use them. And it's like Roman just said, you know, well, it's been past practice, so that's the way we did it, but this is also 2023. And we can't be doing things the way we did. We're not even doing them the way we did in 1965, so we need to be taking a hard look at these things and making some decisions, and not just nodding our head, but saying, okay, we're gonna make a change here.
I do have a question. Roman, if I understood you correctly, you said that you and Jason would sit down for the next time? You know, and he said spring is when you are sitting down with the Forest Service?
That's usually when they would come in
Yeah,
and tell us about.
we've already signed, so when we revisit every year and new signature is required,
Yes,
that would be
yes.
the time to say, hey, no, yes, change that, whatever.
Well, maybe even before that, though, I mean,
That's what I was,
Oh.
yeah.
if we've got the cooperating status to sit down with them and say, hey, so, you know, we don't like the idea here, or we don't like this, or if we do approve it this and why isn't this being done?
Well, and on top of that, there's new roads that have come on board that need to be added to the list, maybe, I don't know that, but if there's, for example, houses, I came at the cemetery, or that little one we talked about, it's not a Forest Service issue, but there may be some like that.
Yeah.
Those need to be added to the list, so that's a good time to do that, and Jason would be the only one who probably knows
Yeah.
that. But, yeah, there needs to be some homework, and again, I don't know how Jason would possibly have time to do all that. I mean, there's a lot of work goes into these two documents right here. So,
So, Mr. Peck,
I want to add one other thing to the discussion here. This is one thing, this does guide a lot of the things, but in addition to that, when we have a project, like when we did Jam Cracker, for example, that was a huge project and all the way from Tarkio to Superior. That would have been a good time to talk about all those specific roads. That's how we get those done during planning, is to talk about those during that project. So now we have another one that's out there that we're gonna see the draft EA this, I would say within a couple of months, maybe sooner. And so we'll need to take a quick look at that project and look for those roads. I mean, that project, Superior North runs all the way from Superior to St. Regis on the north side of the freeway. So we need to be ready and prepared, and we need to hit them guys, or at least propose to those guys, all the roads that we have in there that we have some responsibility on, that we share that and make sure that they're involved in that process. So, because that's going to be another big project. It won't be as big as Jam Cracker or some of the others, but it will. It's 60,000 acres, so
Yep.
there's gonna be some logs coming out of there. There's gonna be a lot of traffic up there. There already is for layout and all those things. So anyway, I just say that we still have an opportunity to be involved in that process there as well. So.
okay. Still on that topic, Mr. Gurley, or do you have another?
I think we probably worked out one over pretty good. Website's one, I know that you guys are working on the website, but for me, that thing is really cumbersome. I'd maybe like an update on that to see where we're at.
Sure. The update is that Renee and I just met with the website people 2 days ago, and they're gonna work on a new platform for it. We can't do, we're telling them what it is that we'd like and how we would like this laid out in a more clear manner. And then they're giving us directions so that we can always be adding our own stuff, no matter what it is. We can do the agendas, we can do the forms, we can do job applications, job descriptions, and it should turn out to be much more user-friendly. So it was just 2 days ago, so they're working up a price for us right now.
Okay, who is the website? Doesn't matter.
Rebel River Creative.
Yeah, what, like, budget items, things like that, we posted budgets on the website, because a lot of counties do that, or some counties do.
I don't know. I certainly will look into that. I don't know anything about posting the budget on the website. I know it is available. What's the website where it is available?
Our budget?
Yeah, Kelly, she just told us.
Yeah.
But I certainly
Through
will look into
government
that.
services, I think. Isn't that what she said?
I'll text her
Can't
and see if
remember.
she'll
Montana
answer you with
Government
that.
Services.
Or maybe she'll answer the
She
phone.
said you can look at all the budgets of every county.
Okay.
I'll call her right quick and
That'd
find
be
out for you.
interesting to know.
We're really excited about taking better ownership of that website because we can do things in a much more timely manner than what they could do for us.
Sure.
So I'm
Well-
looking forward to good things happening there.
If we're gonna be progressive, we're gonna step up, we need to have that where people can get on. And
Yep.
Saves a lot of questions and answers.
Ms. Bear? Can you tell me again what is the name of the website that the budget is on for people to view public? Local government services. And that's, if they type that in on Google, that pops up with the ability to look at the mineral. But that's the, Montana, local, and there's no, you don't need a a web, you know, lgs@mt.gov or something? What is it, how do they? Google? Okay. Oh, okay. So just type in Montana Local Government Services on Google and it should pop up, and then you just gotta navigate a little bit to find the correct county after that. Okay. Counties or cities. Okay, thank you much.
Montana Local Government Services on
Yep.
Google.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I think the next thing probably, you know, Wally touched on a cooperator status, so there's not much point in going forward on that. I think we're kind of, at least I have a pretty good understanding. You okay with that? Taxes, Roman, maybe you can fill us in on where we're at, an update on getting the Department of Revenue guy here.
Oh, yes. Got the person's name. They said, maybe I put it on my phone. I don't remember their name.
But I have it.
Yeah, all we need to do, they said they'd be more than happy to come. I don't know if it's a number 2 person, number 3. There was a woman and then a man who can both come out from Revenue and sit down at our meeting. And so all we gotta do is pick a date and see if that's something that they can accommodate us on. So I guess we'll throw out a couple, more than one date and see what
Okay,
they.
yep, throw out some dates, because I know I will have that guy's number in this packet.
So,
Corey, what's the guy, Corey? Email.
Budget creation. Here, no, it doesn't have his name here, it just says the presenters were the Department of Revenue.
Yeah, I spoke to him, he returned my call, it was real nice, going, Corey something,
Okay.
K-O-R-Y, he spelled it that way, K-O-R-Y.
so can you pick a couple of dates then and?
Yeah, what works? What would be some dates that we can throw out, see, January?
Let me get my phone and look.
We can see, we can see 21, 28, February 4.
Is that the new calendar?
Oh, no, it's
No.
not. Do we have a new calendar?
We do, it just hasn't been posted yet.
Okay, look on the
But
phone.
let me, yeah, I'm
Well,
gonna,
I think you guys can
Well,
just.
yeah, and we'll put it-
And let us know.
We'll let-
after,
Yes.
Take everybody's time.
Yeah, we'll try to get it sometime after the 14th of January on
Okay.
a Friday, and I guess at 10 o'clock would probably be good. Huh?
And again, our whole goal
Yeah,
here
10
is
is
try to
always
figure
good.
out how we get tax dollars
Right.
in here quicker.
Maybe we'll go an hour and a half from 10 to 11:30 with the revenue guy, because I imagine there'll be some people with questions.
I'd like to make sure that he knows the primary objectives before they get here, so maybe they would have answers when they get here. So we don't just get a follow-up meeting out of a
Mhm.
meeting. You know, there's so many times you're not very productive. So
Yeah.
if they kind of know what our primary, and I'd be glad to provide you a list of the
Okay.
things that I think.
Yeah, do that, and then I'll forward that email. I think I have his email address. If I have time to look at it, I could get it for you, but
That's
Yeah.
all right. I'll send you something, it might be Tuesday, something like that.
okay.
But the
Yeah.
list of what I'd like to see.
Yeah, so they're prepared a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, go along with that is the building application thing. We talked about that a little bit early on too, and we didn't get very far. We're still not very far with that, but you know, there's some discussion out there about, you know, we're getting all these new houses being built in the county, and some people are not even getting their tax bills for 2 years. So how do we help the Department of Revenue get that done? So one of the things that was discussed was building applications, not building permits, but building applications, so that we don't have to have inspections and all those things.
So it's just a free document that puts the red flag.
It just says you're out there building a house, and we're gonna put them on, the state on notice that the tax is going on.
I guess I would not support being free. I think we should all, I don't think it has to be $10,000, but a few bucks.
Oh, no, I didn't, I missed that part, not
Oh,
free.
okay.
Not free.
Roman said a few, and so I wanna be sure that, you guys are gonna have, somebody's gonna have cost tracking this stuff, and hopefully we're gonna bring some support from the revenue service here to help, but we're gonna have some costs, the county is, and I certainly don't mind, I mean, if we made it retroactive, to me, I would pay to make sure that this program is coming together, because it's important. It's just a tracking mechanism,
Right.
and then it needs some teeth if people don't get a permit.
Sure.
Well, they don't get a sewer permit, but maybe I'm talking out of turn here, but, and Andy may comment in public comment there, but, and I just spoke briefly with Andy for a couple minutes, and there's probably some issues that go along with this that maybe he'll bring up, but we haven't researched it completely, but there are some thoughts out there, but that money doesn't go to the state, that goes directly to the county.
Right.
So you build a $500,000 house, you pay a $2,000 fee
That's it.
up front. And I think there was, through the 2nd of November, there was, 72 sewer permits. And these aren't small houses. I put in a lot of sewer systems. And so that's a chunk of change that
And
comes
your
forward.
proposal would be just on residential homes to build, or what if they were building a shop or a barn?
Same thing, but probably a different
Different
cost structure.
scale.
Yeah.
Mr. Short, do you have any ideas on, have you heard of what other counties do in this example that kind of not only helps track new players better for revenue, but
Well, I think with any kind of regulation, you always have to weigh what happens if people don't do it, right? Like, hey, they don't get their building permit for their garage or their shed, right? So like, do you create like a system that's costing you way more than is beneficial to you? So, yeah, that needs to be weighed, right? Like, will people fall in line and do this, right? Right, we've got 3 kind of regulatory things that go on right now. We've got an address, we've got a sewer permit, and then there's a state electrical permit. People don't always get septic permit, right? So we're like fighting that battle, right? Like that's a battle we're currently fighting, right? So if you can't, if you don't have enough resources to handle that, adding on something on top of that, there needs to be some thought, right? Like, is the juice worth the squeeze? So this DOR meeting, I think, is critical, right? Because then you're like, what do they know? What are they doing, right? Because the addressing, the septic permits and the electrical permits, and then our consultant Matt, who's actually driving around and he knows, wait, that's new, right? Like, to where like I might not necessarily know that, right? What's new at the time. So there are a bunch of mechanisms to catch everything, and the DOR gets all our new address requests. They get any septic permit final, right? And then this would be a good question for the DORs, but like, yeah, when a electrical permit is requested, are they alerted, right? Because like Matt's alerted, so he's like, oh, what's this electrical permit about? We don't have an address request, we don't have a septic permit, right? So there are mechanisms. And so, yeah, it'd just be interesting to see what DOR is doing.
Well, I think logistically there'll be some issues, but, Mike just handed me the little thing, said Lake County, if you get caught without doing it, it's double, and it goes right on your taxes. So that might be something, our sheriff's department is out there if we're all working together. You see new tar paper, call Andy. You put a cease and desist on them. There's ways to get that done. May not get them all like the sewer permits, but maybe if we're all working together, we can get some kind of a mechanism that helps us get these tax dollars in the county coffers instead of us, putting in septics that aren't approved or building the houses.
Yeah, and if you can make that mechanism of like violation to pain point streamlined, yeah, you certainly, that helps, right?
Sure, yeah.
Like right now, the only thing that we really have, there's a fine, obviously, right? But that would my office would stop and then that's what we would focus on, right? Like if we were gonna go after somebody for something, right? We can't do, so all we really have is this like notice to title basically that we can file on someone's property that says, we don't understand what the sewer issue is out there or something like that. So yeah, making that like, you know, like I can write a ticket and it's, you know, like it's done, as opposed to like a big administrative cost or like getting $200 out of somebody kind of thing, you know.
Comes for Condon.
Having sued the Department of Revenue for it last year and the year before for Lake County, and having written the rules for Lake County, here's the skinny. What we learned was two things. One, the permit system is not a building permit county, it doesn't do that. It does a notice permit regarding some buildings, we don't catch all of them at all there. But what works better is have the deputies, have the consultant, have Andy's equivalent who's health, and anybody else who sees it, report it to the treasurer's office. And then have the treasurer or the clerk and recorder report it to the Department of Revenue. Because we do not get a tax dime out of it, and it does not go on the list unless Revenue's assessors puts it on the roll. So we can do all the permits till hell freezes over, we get nothing. It's a black hole. It's nothing, and we will get nothing. And we get nothing because the state legislature 20 years ago got rid of county assessors. We used to have the bull by the horns. We were the entity that did the job. And guess what? We aren't anymore. So the mechanism we have in Revenue, to say the least, was after 4 years of litigating it, was nothing more than very, very uncooperative for a long time. We finally ended up in front of an arbitration panel of 3 district judges in Missoula. Did an arbitration for a whole day before we finally got them to admit, we need to do this differently, we'll get you the records. And we had to make them go back 10 years on some pieces of property, even though they were told they were there, they never did it. So the best mechanism we have is, as we find the stuff, report it, have that sent to Revenue. Thompson Falls has the office, I think, unless they've got us doing out of Missoula, I think we're out of T Falls. Send it there, and then T Falls assessor does it. And about 58% of the money goes to the schools, et cetera, about 9% goes to the state, and the rest of the money comes to the county for specific things. Some goes to the fire district, some goes to the conservation district, some goes to whatever, but that's the breakdown. So the money comes, but the problem is the permit thing is a black hole in the sense of where it goes, because Revenue's assessors are who has to do it. We cannot. We used to.
But I think we need to identify to those people.
And if we just identify what they are, so the mechanism to do it the best is have the sheriff's office, have Andy, have the road department when they're out and see construction. It's not just houses. The biggest one is shops with heated floors, down with those things for people who are here.
Chicken coop, it doesn't matter.
Exactly, but report those. And when those are reported, guess what? Revenue then looks. And we have to just stay on them. And I don't mean to be disenchanting you, but see, I did this for Lake County, and we had huge problems. We had like $1 million houses that were off the tax roll for years. They were never put on. So we had one guy from Canada who had $1 million house on Swan Lake, whacked him for 9 years. He walked in and wrote the county a check for $134,000 on the spot for the taxes. That was a painful pill for him to swallow, but he had no option. The other one who got deleted was CSKT, and the place they have at Mission was not exempt, not tribally owned, not whatever else, but they exempted that company, Revenue did, for the tribe's benefit. We whacked it for 9 years at the same time too. That was over 190,000. So the record's there, but the permits would have gotten us nowhere. The key was, once we find it, then run it through the system and get their assessor, and their assessor has no choice once we give it to them. That's how to do it.
Wally, are you saying it needs to go through the treasurer?
I'd say give it to the treasurer who has the best record of what what's taxed and what's not that's in the system. I don't know if we use Black Mountain or not.
We do.
So if we do,
So currently it comes from us, right? It doesn't come from the treasurer. It goes straight to DOR.
yeah, and if it,
Here's this weird thing that we've got.
right, and if it goes from us directly, I don't care, but who sees it in the field is the sheriff's office, the road department, and Andy's office, the sanitation health. Those 3 see it more than that. So if they report it, that doesn't.
Are you saying that, you're saying that the permit process is a black hole? because it doesn't do anything, but if you have enough teeth in that thing and you collect the fee, that's a benefit to the county, because it doesn't go to the state.
Lake County has a minimal fee, they get it, but it's a minimal, it's not a moneymaker, it's a black hole, and they have 5 planners.
Raise the fee,
The fee?
raise the fee. to what
Well, you
it's
can
out.
raise the fee, but at what point does raising the fee become more of a reason why we hide and don't tell people, and they don't tell people?
They
So
gotta
it's
get a
better
sewer,
just to find them and do
they
it
gotta
that
get
way.
a sewer permit.
Yeah, but it's better just to find them and turn them in that way. That's how we had the best luck there. Not one of the ones that we turned in and got money out of had been through the permit process. None of them.
Well,
Yeah, and in Chester, Montana, Liberty County, they have cameras in their county snowplows, and when they're out doing the maintenance, they have the cameras to find and see, and they send that to revenue.
Yes.
But,
but,
yeah,
but I can tell you that there's a lot of places out there that snowplows don't go.
oh, yeah, no, I'm
New
agreeing with
houses.
that.
But our sheriff's department goes there
Mhm.
quite often. But a combination of the group, like Wally said, is probably a good thing. If everybody plays a part,
Mhm.
if you see new tar paper out there, or new paper wrap,
Mhm.
we have a mechanism to call somebody and get it done. But I still think that an application fee generates revenue for here, even if it's, I mean, if you come in for a sewer permit, you build a $500,000 house, $2,000 fee. That doesn't seem like a black hole to me.
Turns into a major disincentive to reporting it. That's what happens. People that do it without, and a lot of that goes all over.
You mean like an example of a shop where there's no sewer permit required?
Right.
Well, you're gonna have that, but I'm talking about a big custom home or something.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them going on right now in Mineral County. So,
But if you know
anyway.
they're here, turn them in, and when you turn them in, that changes the whole equation out there. And revenue need to be after revenue, to say, look, boys, your assessor's got this house, this address, this place, go do it.
Well, before we entertain the next topic, or if there is one, but Andy will probably get with you and see what your schedule is so that we don't have revenue here and you're absent. We'll include you. Sounds like you'd be good to have here as well for these questions.
Yeah.
All right, I'm not trying to hurry, Mr. Burley. Is there anything else?
No, I think we're probably covered most everything we had. Lily, do you have anything you'd like to talk about?
Absolutely. How much more time do we have? No, I'm good. I'm good. 2 seconds.
Ms. McGowan is next, but it's up to her, whatever she wants.
I think we
that we
covered
need our
everything we have.
time.
for now.
Okay, you're ready for your time.
Because it's an action item, so.
Oh, okay. All right, well, thank you guys, and we'll let everybody know when we have revenue coming next, and keep you posted. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, for the next agenda
Thanks for the
item.
letters, Willie. Huh?
Thanks for the
Yeah,
letters.
you bet. Got another one on the way.
So now we have the Mineral County Rails to Trails, request of Mineral County to sign on as a co-applicant for a Portage County rail planning grant.
And I'd like Carol Young to come up and see if there's any questions about the economic.
Okay.
She's actually co-chair of the Mineral County Resource Coalition and also on the Mineral County Economic Development Corporation. So she may be able to answer questions that I can't. I know that we're running out of, we don't have a lot of time. Did you all get a chance to look at the contract?
Counselor, I'm sorry that we're having trouble hearing them. Maybe if you want to step out in the hall or finish the conversation so we can give Miss Diane McGowan the full attention. All right.
And it'd be nice to have Wally here for this
Oh,
part too,
okay.
if he's available. You are here, I know you're here. So did you get a chance to look at the agreement?
I did not.
Okay, I've got it here with me. If you can't sign it right now, it is an action item and we do need it this week, so.
So,
But Wally's looked at it,
can I
right?
interject, Diana, why don't you forward these to us if you're gonna have
It has
them as
been,
action
it
items?
has been.
I don't think I had them
I think Renee got it, because I wasn't getting it,
either. Okay,
remember?
okay.
Yeah.
I'll look, yep, because
You should have gotten it, because I think I was, Renee, did you get it?
If I did, I was put it in Dawn's folder.
Okay, so I'm just gonna explain real quickly so that, we use our time efficiently here. My request was, That Mineral County sign on as a co-applicant for a multi-county raised planning grant to provide for funds to identify an appropriate route for the Great American Rail Trail as it makes its way through our county. The grant will also identify resources needed to build the trail, including the restoration of the Saltiest Trestle. Powell County is the primary applicant. They're requesting that Missoula County and City both, Granite County and Mineral and Powell, well, or not Powell, but sign on as co-applicants. And Amanda Cooley from Powell County Planning, she's the director or whatever, I don't know, will handle all administrative duties of the grant should it be awarded. So there won't be any work that needs to be done by the county other than what the Rails to Trails people will be doing. Cost of writing the grant is $15,000, with both Powell and Missoula each pledging $5,000, leaving the remaining $5,000 to be split between Mineral, Granite, and there's 2 or 3 other counties that are
Silverbow, I think.
that are listed in the first part of the agreement. So that, the $2,500 for our county, that is the highest it would be. Hopefully it'll come from, it will be reduced. That's gonna come from outside sources and not from the county budget, which we've made clear. And also the Mineral County Montana Rails to Trails, which is us, will take the responsibility of working with the other counties on the writing of the grant application and all follow-up activities. And what this will provide is the grant writer fee, which is $15,000, and then should we get the grant, which is a raised planning grant, there's no match. So we will have an engineer helping us, and in fact, we have a meeting set within the next couple of weeks to meet with that engineer. And it's kind of interesting because Missoula County engineer that we'll be contracting with, should we get the grant, is also the engineering firm that did the study on the Saltiest Trestle. So their firm already knows about Saltiest Trestle, which is great. I do have, this just is requesting that our county sign on as a co-applicant. And I have wording for a separate agreement, which I have not written yet, but I will do so with Wally's help, hopefully. That commits us, let's see. The Mineral County Rails to Trails Group, a 501c3, commits to help raising funds to cover the Mineral County financial contribution of up to $2,500 to write the raised planning grant application. County Rails to Trails will act as point of contact for the Rails planning grant application process. They will help guide and develop the trail priorities that will inform the Mineral County portion of the feasibility study to be developed with the raised grant funding. The priorities can be shared with Mineral County prior to submission of the grant application, and we'll be able to review that grant before it's completed, before it's submitted. So what we've done is we've met with both the Mineral County Resource Coalition and MCEDC. I've contacted the Resort District, and I'll be contacting Lookout. And Carol can back me up here that Mineral County Resource Coalition voted to, as a backup, provide $1,500 worth of that fee, grant writing fee. And we have not voted on this yet, but Rails to Trails will tentatively provide the remaining $1,000 if necessary. We do not have to pay the grant writer until the end of May, and we are currently working with these other groups to get the funds. So, is there any questions?
I have a question, because I remember we discussed this before, that $2,500 and that our portion could be as low as $500. And, right, is this the same thing that was discussed prior?
It won't be as low as 500, so I don't know.
Okay, so.
Unless the county wants to put money in.
No, we don't, and that
Okay.
was the issue, that's what we talked about last time was, no, we need to look elsewhere for the money.
And that's what we're doing.
So, but when you say tentatively, how do we sign anything that's tentative?
Okay, I guess I won't say that then. whatever it says in this agreement. It's not, the thing is Amanda's written a grant to help pay for the grant writer. She doesn't know if she's gotten it yet. 2 other counties have come in on board, and the city of Missoula. So that, and if she gets that grant, if they end up, it could lower our amounts. It won't go over 2,500. And Mineral County is not responsible for that money.
For any of it.
Exactly.
$0.
Exactly.
If I can interject, the Resource Coalition has, of the 25 maximum that it could possibly
Yeah.
be, and that's the max, we've already pledged to cover 2,000 of it.
Okay.
So if none of the
So that's
other
where the
sources
500 comes in.
came through,
Yeah.
which we have probably 4 right now, that are looking at ways to fund us. If none of them panned out, which I doubt would happen, the maximum that we would be looking for from the county is $500.
Yes, okay, so that is what I recall. And I would just say this, that I feel the same way today that I did then. I think $500 for our county right now is a lot of money, and so I still want to see the pursuit of $500 and know for sure that that would be paid by someone.
No, we're not gonna ask any money from the county right now.
Well, that's the maximum it could be, but
No.
If we already pledged 2,000 and the maximum it could be is 2,500, you still.
We will pay that if that happens.
Okay, you have it out of another source guaranteed?
Yes.
Okay, then there we go.
Yes.
Okay,
Even though we have lots of expenses right now for our rails and trails group and not a lot of money, but if it comes down to that, and I'm speaking without the board approving it, I mean, I guess I'll pay it, because I'm good. But I'm on the agenda, well, I can't be on the agenda, but, the resort district, George Bailey, has said that they would like to be involved, so I suspect we can get something from them. We'll come up with the money is what I'm saying, and that's what this other agreement says that I just read.
That will come up with.
The Mineral County Rails to Trails Group commits to help raise funds to cover the Mineral County financial contribution. And I will have this done by next week, but we need to get this signed, because the grant is actually due, the application is due February 28th. And they want to get on with writing the grant, obviously, so we need to get our grant writer. And that's what this is all for.
So I just want to add that when economic development meets and looks over we come across different options to pursue grants in different areas all the time. When we do decide on one, it's because the investment is minuscule compared to the potential return. Those are the ones that we really focus on. So when Headwaters did a study on this particular plan of running this trail through, they estimated that it could be $1.5 million to the county for recreational income, people coming through, plus the extra advertising that being part of this trail would give us that we don't have to pursue on our own. So when we got behind this project, we did it because we felt that we're going to get a much larger return on whatever investment is required. And the other counties all have their commissioners pursuing these type of things. We don't have a lot of money, that's true in Mineral County, but we do have people who are willing to ferret out these opportunities and pursue them. And although we pursue many different opportunities, not all of them pan out because they don't turn out to be the kind of return that we feel is worth our time and effort, or money if it's required. But on this one, it seems way too positive for the county to ignore. That's why Resource Coalition stepped in and said, if we have $2,000 discretionary right now, we'll commit every penny of it. Every penny of it. Because we feel that this is gonna give our county way more of a return than, even if the county put in $2,500. That would be minuscule in the first year compared to what
the possible return could be and what it could grow from there. So we're, we don't normally come to you guys for money. I don't know how many times we've asked, but it's not that many. We usually find a way to do it on our own, but in this case, it must have county sign on, must have.
It has to come from a
Yeah, so
government
in the
agency.
process of signing, you're also saying on that paper, it says 2,500, although we're assuring you we have that covered.
Then we will have an addendum.
What is the acronym RAISE stand for?
Pardon me?
What does the acronym?
Oh my
raise.
gosh.
Raise, it should be.
Rebuilding American infrastructure with sustainability and equity.
Got all the buzzwords in there.
Counselor Conlon, did you review this document?
I had 3 changes in it, yeah.
Okay.
I made 3 additions. One was, if there's a product that comes out of engineering in the end, we own it.
Okay.
I've already addressed that.
That was first. Secondly, is they says local trail groups can help. If they do, the workers' comp has to be paid. That's state law. I can't even volunteer to play music for Bannock State Park without the workers' comp being paid on me volunteer.
Oh,
Really?
That's the rules.
well, we're not gonna be doing the actual work.
No, but they said for the survey the work to do with the engineers, it's in the agreement. If local trail groups may help, that's in the agreement. So if they do, that needs to be paid. They had one other one, but I already gave them to fix it.
How often do bass players fall off the stage?
Quite often.
I'm
There was
a
a
little
whiskey that did
confused.
it.
Depends on how drunk they get.
So Wally, I have addressed the person with Amanda, and that will be ours. We will, the feasibility.
And there was, the other 2 were on the sheet you got too, and they should be easy.
I could not read your writing,
Okay.
sorry.
Well,
I did figure that one piece out.
Will you restate the first thing that you said there about the engineering?
Yeah, the first one was whatever they come up with an engineered product, drawings, whatever else, we own those. We paid for them, they don't stay with the engineer, so we have to buy it again. No,
I
we
heard-
buy it, it should be our product.
I've clarified that, yes, definitely, and I have that in writing on email, if you need it. The second one, we can talk about later, I think. We will have liability insurance for our group, if that's, I don't know. That's a little bit,
So interlocal agreement between Powell County, Mineral County, City of Missoula, Missoula County, Granite County, Butte, Silver Bow County. This agreement is made between us for American infrastructure sustainability. Okay.
I thought you guys had received all that.
You know what, the name Amanda Cooley is very familiar to me, so it's very possible I did, and it's in
Because
my
I would have sent it
traveling
down,
office.
but I know it. I actually wasn't even included on the first round, so I've already met with Amanda and Jackson Lee from Missoula County and told them that I need to be included on
Yes,
everything.
I will say,
think I
again,
ever
I
received
do
any.
recognize that name, so it's in my traveling
Yeah.
office, I would bet.
Yeah.
Well, based upon the strong scrutiny of our counselor and the recommendation and the changes that he made, I move that we enter into and sign yeah, this is the last page. I move that we sign this this planning grant.
And I will have this amended to you by next week. Do I need to be on the agenda for that?
You're gonna amend which part?
I'm just gonna specify that you also have an agreement with our group, that we will, come up with the money and, we'll act as a point of contact.
Okay.
Do you want me to be on the agenda for that, or
If we're gonna amend it, maybe we ought to.
get your signature?
Yeah.
I will do that, and I'll run it by Wally before
Okay. All right.
and make sure you guys have it ahead of time.
Are you seconding?
I was just gonna ask you, so we're still signing it today, even though we're going to get an amendment? Okay,
It's a separate agreement, just with us.
so it's not,
Yeah, it's
She
not
means,
Brenda.
she means separate side agreement at the top of
Sure,
that, 2,000,
Yes,
Okay.
and I might.
This is the main one, just to get the county on board with those other counties so that the grant is official in the Fed's eyes for the money. Okay. You
I will
second?
second that.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None are opposed. Okay. I will sign this as my last act of county commissioner. And before we go into public comment,
We're keeping you.
I'm gonna officially hand over the
Thank you very much.
Alright,
the
thanks,
gavel
guys.
to Ms. Dawn as the new chair, and here, so people know.
Oh, the other thing I wanna say real quick is,
Got a chair.
I also asked Amanda, should we not get this grant, that if we can have access to the grant material that's been written, so we can use it for other grant applications. So that's also been resolved. So everything will be ours too, or yours. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have to take a 3-minute break before we move into public comment. I know that we are a little bit late. We will make that 3 minutes go as quickly as possible.
I'll send that to Amanda right away.
Maybe you guys can.
I guess I have to go get Colin's signature.
Probably just.
Yeah, she
As long as we got
attests, she attests that that's my signature.
Oh, she's a,
I think she attests that that's the official copy. Yeah, click and record.
Didn't realize that there was one of my pet peeves. Ran stuff at the very last minute.
I understand, and I was really upset, and actually I talked to Jackson about it, and I said, no, this is not, if it goes to the county, it doesn't go to me, when I'm on the agenda. So I don't know what happened to you. No, you probably didn't.
No, because then
We're back on schedule. 3 minutes have passed. Take your seats and get ready for public comment.
Exactly.
We're missing a couple, but.
I did. Yeah, I did. They'll think I'm adjourning.
Okay.
Are we done?
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Okay, public comment has started at, excuse me? We have one person at a time for public comment.
Okay.
One chair sitting, one person at a time.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ultimately, Sheriff Ryan Funk, the big thing was, coming into this office, transparency. I've worked 48 hours this week, and that was before today. One thing I did find out coming into the office is there was a disparaging smell odor coming from a couple of the offices. The week before I took office, we took out, and I've talked to Dawn, the flooring in Under Sheriff Cashman's office, and there's an overwhelming odor of mold and mildew. The carpet was wet underneath this vinyl plank flooring. With the help of, 3 or 4 guys, we were able to also do the same thing in the sheriff's office. And it would behoove the commissioners to go ahead and try to stand in there for like 2 minutes. It's the most disgusting smell I've ever smelled. So when I should be doing, there's a lot of other stuff on my plate to do, is I've been trying to control odor, smell, so people don't end up getting sick. It's not a place to be, that office. From this going forward is, Norm should go in there with a mask to prevent, any health problems moving forward. We're gonna try to move everything out of there into another office that's not wired, so I have to get a hold of DIS for them to come in and wire it so my computer networks and everything work. Because right now I just have my laptop. I've been in contact with multiple sheriffs this week. We've had meeting upon meeting upon meeting. Just met with the task force. They brought an MOU. One of the drug task forces. Another one's working on an MOU. And so we're making headway. Had a bunch of personnel stuff go down, which we've addressed. Nobody's quit. So that's a good thing, is we've been able to talk to people and explain like my focus and where I want to see the office, and they've stayed. So I think that's a positive step. I wasn't here last week because there was a lot of stuff going on with my swearing in that. I was able to watch a portion of the commissioners meeting, and there was some stuff in the commissioners meeting that I didn't agree with, and as this is public comment, I'll get on the agenda next week to discuss it further. But if anything is gonna happen in my office, I wanna be advised of it and I wanna be part of it. I hire for my office, and that's an office, not a department.
It's an office now.
I think I've made that very apparent. So a lot of people are department. It's the sheriff's office, it's an office. I was elected to be there. People expect me to, make it a better place and run, efficiently and protect the people of this county. We're very short on deputies starting next week, so it's gonna be an interesting transformation on how we're gonna do that. But I'm gonna do everything in my power, like I said. By the time today's over, it's gonna be 60+ hours this week. So I'm dedicated to do it. I'm gonna do it. It's just gonna be a rough month until we can figure out our offices and a place for us to effectively and efficiently run the office, and not have to worry about, getting sick. I paid for somebody to come and chef through the carpet in Cashman's office. I think the smell is better, but I'll let Norman Gordon talk to you guys even, more about the smell, so it's just not coming from me. I have a bunch of pictures.
Right, you were gonna send me those
Yep.
pictures, yeah.
So I have a bunch of pictures. Of course, even more things are just, they just keep piling up, so I tried moving everything from my office to another office. Last night, I got home at 9:00 at night last night. So I'm working on that. But like I said, next week, I guess I'll speak more about the meeting from last week. So I can get more feedback from the commissioners, because I know it's public comment. So I just want you guys to be aware that some things were said in the meeting last week that I don't agree on, and I guess I wasn't here because a lot of stuff was happening, with the swearing in ceremony, and I had a lot of family in town, so I wasn't here to speak my words. But if anything happens, as far as the sheriff's office, as far as sworn deputies, I hire sworn law enforcement, not the county attorney's office. So I think there's some stuff to hash out next week, and I'll get on the agenda. But that's all I have.
I am sorry that you paid someone to shampoo, because actually that would be our maintenance people to do that. So maybe you can get together with him. I don't know why you paid for it.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
There's things that we do is, it's one of those things, and it even happened, there's certain times it was an immediate need. I wasn't gonna ask permission. It's like one of those things you do now and ask for forgiveness later kind of thing, but it had to be done, fast and effectively and efficiently. So I just made a phone call. They were here. I dealt with it. It's done. It's water over the bridge. I'm not asking for anything backwards from that.
But would you in the future, that's what we pay maintenance for, so to save you money, and even if it is an emergency and it's right now, we need to call our maintenance guy and he needs to get on that.
Well,
And I hope the remedy, I spoke with maintenance yesterday, so I think the remedy has been put in place so that it doesn't happen again. And I'm sorry that you had to walk into that mess.
I think, and I'll let Norm, I guess, speak with the mold and the mildew, is that needs to be handled like quick and efficiently and effectively, like immediately.
Can I
Because,
just ask a question on
Yeah.
that? Why is this not insurance
Yeah,
with
excuse me, but
abatement?
we're not, no, so during this public comment time.
Oh, I'm sorry, I
No,
will
that's
go in my
okay.
timeout room.
That's
I
okay,
have-
but
I've been waiting.
when Ryan is finished, then you could maybe be the next one to come up to public comment. But the way we're gonna do public comment, he gets to speak, it's not a time for debate, and it's not a time for question and answer sessions. So the commissioners get to talk to the public speaker, or we may choose to say thank you for your comment. And I do thank you for your comment, and you know that we are behind you in getting all of that remedied.
and, I think, 2.5 years ago, when Sheriff Toth did take office, is that, he wanted to make it his office. There's literally, file cabinets were literally rusted to the carpet. So
Sure.
it hasn't been, the last year, it's been, 5 or 10 years, coming. And now that I'm on that topic, is I know in multiple meetings, I know in multiple, public, places it was, hey, when I turn over the reins, like I will give passwords, I will give, everything, so Ryan moving forward, doesn't have to go after all this stuff. Is Sheriff Toth deleted his whole entire phone, all of his contacts. I have nothing. I can't get on his computer. He's locked us out of Facebook, except for my wife has an account, so once her phone dies, Mineral County Sheriff's Office Facebook is no longer. I'm gonna try to fix that. It's gonna take some time, but literally I'm locked out of everything and don't have anything from the past sheriff. So I just wanna make that public that there's nothing from Sheriff Mike Toth, nothing passed on, no torch, no nothing, just a big mess.
Okay, and I am very sorry for that, Ryan. We're here to support you and to help you be successful. So I do appreciate that you have brought those concerns forward. Thank you.
So, all right,
Thank you.
yep.
No, she wanted to go first.
If you don't mind, why is
Could you
this, why
you
is
hear
this,
Margaret?
I can stand right here, thank you. Why is that not turned over to the insurance and have an abatement crew? Your
Well-
mold is never handled by maintenance, it's handled by special.
Excuse me, but
Just asking.
we turn all of our stuff over to insurance. Our maintenance guy
Okay.
he would go there first. I would get the information that we need and we turn it over to insurance. We've done it
That's
before,
awesome.
we've done it just recently. It'll happen again. The important thing is the chain of command. Go to him because then he knows he needs to come to us and we need to get the ball rolling immediately.
That's what I
So,
was just wondering
yeah.
is.
We do, absolutely.
That's all I wanna know. I need to state this publicly, and this is why I came. I'm on my way back to St. Regis to open up. What I've been hearing and monitoring and whatever is the entire county structure in not just the county attorney, the sheriff's office, but within how everything is handling is under kind of a judicial monitoring that as a business person for many years and as somebody who takes things very seriously, I see this as an opportunity for all structure in the county to be addressed globally, not piecemeal, and to get open transparency, which is keywords in this county anymore. Openness so that we know what's going on here or what's going on there, but also I really am nervous about the judge and the status and what I hear Lance saying is because Mako's insurance isn't gonna back you as well if you have mishandled these cases and somebody comes in and sues, you're screwed as far as coverage with insurance. And that's what I'm hearing. And I've been reading and listening. Where I'm at is, it terrifies me to have the person with the most history and the most awareness of what's happened out of here now. Because I feel like this county is in a crisis spot and we need a strong person at the helm to get, is this fixed? Is that fixed? Is this on target? And I, as an individual, just want to say, I wish you weren't gone right now. I'm not sure if it's appropriate with what's happening on the ground here. She's new, whether she likes to say it or not, she's been around. You've got the history. Where did we go off the path? Where did we get so old boy network, good old boy, lackadaisical in what we're doing? If you walk into the pharmacy, everything's an open book and it's all in 3-ring binders and everything, and everybody knows what's going on. But that's how things are run, and it's gotten sloppy. I would really, what you've been asked to do is a huge honor. I wish it wasn't this year. I am scared, and I would love to have you at the helm for this. That's brutal. And that's why I went out of my way to stop here and see you. Okay? And that's just from my heart. Now I'm done. I gotta get back to work.
Thank you, Marlis, thank you very much.
My turn. All right. Howdy folks, Norman, maintenance. Gonna give you an update of what we got going on so far. To answer her question of why the abatement issue right off the bat, it's a secure area. We can't just have somebody just willy-nilly in there and start digging around. So we need to find out where it's coming from so we can have it focused, offices cleared out, and step by step. Now, we're not sure where the water's coming from, whether it's coming underneath from the sidewalk area, or if it's coming up under and down the brick siding, and where it's also freezing, which is why, it could be why it's separating. And we also have the window ACs, which also leak on that brick siding, which could also be helping go down there. Now, for the past few years, before the flooring was put in over the carpet, it was drying out regularly. That's why it was never noticed. It never occurred to me. I didn't really think about the little rust marks when they moved the filing cabinets to get those in there. It didn't click to me, not until we pulled that up. And this has been a chronic issue. So it needs to be dried out. And as soon as I can figure out where the damage is coming from, and we get the office cleared out of any sensitive material or anything like that, then if we have to, we can talk about abatement and all that with the insurance company.
Sure, and our first step remains as it always has. Ryan took pictures, I am gonna send those pictures into the insurance company, and that's where we'll start.
Yep.
And you'll give me your assessment, I'll give that to the insurance company, and the ball gets rolling immediately,
Yep.
as you know.
Yep.
Yeah.
This, it's a little different than Andy's office, because Andy's office is not a secure.
It's the same.
It
We
is,
have a
yeah.
crisis, and it needs to be addressed in the same manner and very quickly.
Well, I mean, just access personnel wise, like I can walk somebody into Andy's room.
But I can get these pictures and get this
Yeah,
assessment
I get
into
that.
the insurance company right away.
Yeah,
And I
absolutely.
would like to do
absolutely.
that, so let's work on that today.
And we're, me and him are gonna also, go through and get evidence moved around, things that need to be supervised that I cannot move. I can't touch a lot of stuff in there, because it's sensitive, it's evidence, it's whatever.
That's,
So it's gonna be an ongoing process
Yeah.
till we can get that going, and then it's gonna be a shell game in there for a bit. So I
Just
just wanna
The
give you
evidence, the evidence room as well as the undersheriff office?
Well, no, there's just, there's some evidence in
Oh.
every office, stuff like that, just sheriff office stuff.
Okay,
So-
and regarding the AC units, you're probably, I think it's a good point that the water comes off, those things are there all year, never removed. Maybe you can build a little roof thing so that.
Well, no, those are out of the windows. Those are out of the windows during the winter.
Oh,
It's
they
just
are
during the
removed.
summer, it could be running water down in
Oh,
there,
okay. I thought there was
exacerbating
one
the
that was a
issue during the
fixed
summer.
unit in there, but
No, there's no fixed
okay.
unit in there. It's all window ACs, which by itself is its own separate issue that needs to be considered down the road, but yeah, we're working on it. I just gotta figure out where it's coming from. And then
Okay,
we
so-
can actually have it.
you and I will meet up today so that we can get Renee going on at least giving them a heads up what's going on.
Yep.
And then we'll proceed from there.
Yep, and then we'll figure out what insurance and abatement or whatever we gotta do
Right,
next.
right, we'll take our first steps.
Yep, and me and him are gonna be working on those offices, get them ready to start doing something to them. So, just wanna give you a heads up.
All right, thank you.
I'll get out of your hair.
I don't have any hair, Norm.
Neither do I. This will be easy.
I'm going in that club too.
For the record,
Okay.
for the record, Gordon Hendrick. I am the evidence tech for Mineral County Sheriff's Office. And my job is to assist wherever needed. And at this time, I will be assisting Norm and the sheriff to make sure that these problems are handled appropriately, and also looking at where we could possibly find out where the main issue is. And I have spotted many issues me and Norm looked at. If you take a look at the corner of the building there, you'll see where the underside of the eaves is separated on the corner, and the roof is kind of popped up just a little bit. The ice and water is coming right down. The whole brick all the way down is separated. There's a crack running all the way down through, so there's no silicone left in that. And that's part of the main problem there, is the water runs down through there, and as our temperature changes drastically from one way to the other, we're having a separation from the actual cinder bricks on the inside to the red bricks on the outside.
Oh,
So it's separating there along the sidewalk on there. My suggestion is to rip that sidewalk out and don't put it back in. Keep that out of there, put in a drain field in that. In other words, dig it down, retar the concrete down through there, the foundation. That's what I had to do with the Forest Service building, is resurface that whole thing with a black tar.
sealant, yeah.
Yeah, sealant, and then for the drainage, you just fill it with gravel in there. Tap it down, make sure you got a good drainage in there, put layers of the felt in there to keep the weeds and the contamination from going down through. Excuse me, and have that all completed. I think the issue would be taken care of there. Also, I would advise you, everywhere we have the gutters, you're gonna have to put some sort of a heat tape, like the post office has over there, to keep that water from damming up, because I took a look back, and you can see where the snow level is still there. That's all ice dammed all the way back. And what ice does, it separates your tiles, your shingles, lifts it up, gets in there, and then it gets into the ceiling and into the walls. So I think we've had a great time with these buildings, but if we're not maintaining them correctly, then we're going to be having a bigger issue at hand, and the cost factor will be astronomical. So we can, start doing whatever we can. It's up to you guys to decide what we need to be done on that. But let's use our money wisely and see if we can handle that situation as soon as possible, which will probably be the first part of spring. So that's all I gotta say.
We will get on that today.
Yeah, that would be great. And the evidence, I make sure that it's not contaminated in any way, shape, or form. What I've had to do is I've had to move majority of evidence as we're recataloging and stationing, so it's easy access for the sheriff or myself to find a case that we need from the district attorney. So then I've got it spread into another room, which was the old highway patrol office room, and now I'm slowly but surely integrating it back in. And hopefully we have this whole situation taken care of, but that's where we're at as far as the evidence and everything's going to. So thank you for your time. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Gordon.
You bet.
You talking about having that evidence against you? We can't find the evidence against you in that one case. Do you know what it would be? No, I am not a crook.
Julia, do you have a question?
No, I have a comment.
Could you please step up and identify yourself?
Julie Miller, the woman running the video that was told just last week that this was a dead horse. I'd like to thank you for changing your minds on doing video. I would like to caution you very much that YouTube is not a legal storage place for your videos. You will have a steep learning curve in this. If you would like help, I owned a business that had a legal duty to retain records. If you would like assistance, please ask.
We will. Thank you, Julie.
I appreciate that you have changed your minds, but things like your fan down there is a white noise maker. So the audio that will be captured will also have that issue. So there are subtle things about this that you need to understand if you're trying to improve the audio. My equipment is obviously not the proper equipment for doing something like this. There's better equipment. If you need help, recommendations, ideas, my experience, just like Molly has experience, I have a lot of experience in this.
We do appreciate
Please
it.
ask before you get yourself into a deeper hole of not understanding. So, just
Thank you.
the opportunity to help you get it right is what I'm offering.
Thank you very much.
Regarding putting the cameras in the back corner, you will have the same issue that you've had before, which is if you relegate one person back there, now you have 5 people here in the front row that are recording with their own cameras, and now you have to consider them the same as the person you put back there.
Well,
So
I appreciate that
be
too.
very careful about how you're saying that people have to be situated in a specific area.
Sure.
It needs to be conducive to the job that they're wishing to do if you're going to give them a name such as media.
Well, and I did check with our county attorney prior, and so I called it a press area, but we'll call it a media area, we'll call it a public, whatever. We will get that right, I promise you.
Please take the public comments seriously, because putting them in the corner back there now puts everybody's conversation that's in front of them on the audio before it even gets to you three up here. So your first comment about the back corner is probably not the best idea, because being able to get someone speaking who has their back to the camera is going to give you poor audio.
But we intend to have the commissioner assistant taping from here.
I understand that.
And Mary
I
Furlong, with
understand
Mary
that.
Furlong, she had a microphone that would transmit. So she would put the little battery operated microphone at the table, and then regardless of wherever she was in the room, she got the sound from the source.
And because I try not to be intrusive to you guys, and I am just public, not media, I didn't use mine. I know, I have one. I use it too. But please understand that hindering those that do want to record isn't your answer either. Just because you're recording it doesn't mean you should hinder those that want to. This is public, it's a public meeting, and public meeting law says it can be recorded, but don't hinder people in their pursuit of what they're doing. Just because you're gonna do it too, doesn't mean you get to shove everybody else off to the side.
We, again, I just want to let you know that we checked with our county attorney first, and that's a plan that we're going to stick with. And I don't want to debate it with you, this isn't time for debate.
didn't ask
But
for
I'm
debate.
going to take you up on your offer to help in whatever manner you can. I appreciate that, thank you.
I suggest you learn the law, and Wally may have advice for you, but Wally's advice, and you guys know, has not always been solid on. Just because you hold a recording device does not make you media. So be very careful about this. That's a place I've been and I have experience with.
I appreciate your concern, thank you, Julie. If there's no more comment,
I have one.
meeting will adjourn.
Mine's real quick.
Identify yourself, please.
I'm Diane Magone, and I am here today to invite everybody to my brother, Dale Magone, Judge Dale Magone, ex-judge, former judge, retirement party tomorrow at Becky's Barber Shop. And Kathy, did we figure out what time it was? Well, it's either 1 or 3. Kathy's looking right now,
How about
so.
1 till 3?
Did anybody else see it?
I know, and I couldn't find either, and I have emails. But anyway, come if you can.
Thank you.
Dale would like that.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you.
Okay, no other comments, this meeting is adjourned.
Yeah, there's nothing on our side.